Welcome to the second day of the workshop Digitalni propeler, the new industry program that targets Serbian exhibitors and all other film professionals who are interested in audience building and who are curious about the possibilities for making this digital shift during the weird Corona times. I just want to thank again Slobodna Zona Film Festival for making this initiative, and also Media Desk Serbia and Serbian Film Center for providing financial support. Just a quick recap. Yesterday you had an opportunity to hear Philip Mordecai, who had years-long experience with the renowned British exhibitor slash distributor Curzon. Philip gave you an overview of different business models based on digital promotion and digital exhibition of independent films. And yeah, as you could see, his lecture was more on a conceptual level. He gave you a lot of examples and examples of a lot of business models all over the world. But today we will be much more practical, actually. So that's why we have with us Nguyet Nguyenovom. She represents Gruvi. Gruvi is a Copenhagen-based company that works all over the world and deals with the digital promotion of films. Gruvi's clients are normally exhibitors, distributors, and sometimes producers who wish to make alternative distribution strategies based on digital technologies. And what's specific about Nguyet is that she worked a lot with distributors from Central and Eastern Europe, as she is in charge of those territories, among other things, and is originally from Prague herself, so she knows the markets. And that's why she can share with you some interesting Eastern European stories that maybe can be closer to you. But she also followed a lot of global campaigns and can definitely tell you about many other interesting cases from all over the world, because she covered also Asia Pacific and is moving soon to Australia, actually, to cover that part of the world. So I will not speak a lot. Nguyet will soon introduce herself and her company in more detail and give some knowledge that can be useful for you. But before I give the floor to Nguyet, I just want to repeat the same practical infos as yesterday, just as a reminder. You are, of course, more than welcome to ask any question during the lecture, or you can just interrupt. Or if you prefer, you can also write a question in the chat, either in Serbian or in English. You can put it in the general chat or address it directly to me, so then I will channel it to Nguyet. And just as yesterday, we will change a little bit the timeline. We will have the first part of the workshop until noon, until 12 o'clock. And then we will do a shorter break again, like 30 minutes. And then we will meet at 12:30 instead of 1 as initially planned. Because on Zoom, it doesn't make sense to make such long breaks. And also we can finish a bit earlier and have a longer day for ourselves later. That's all from me in the beginning. If there are no questions now, I will just let Nguyet share the screen. And yes, and show us her slides and actually, start her lecture.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Well?
Yeah, I can.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Peter, for the introduction. And hi, everyone. Good morning. I hope that you had a great workshop yesterday. I'm hoping actually that I'm going to continue quite nicely with Philip's workshop from yesterday that was more conceptual, but today I want to show more on if you're really seeing those titles yourself as a distributor or as an exhibitor that are looking now for new options, how to promote your films, or also if you're a producer that, have, say, sold a movie through new alternative marketplace like Cinemarket or Vuldur, and then you're trying to promote the title yourself as well digitally. Then what are the options for this? So as Petra mentioned, we're coming from a background of digital marketing, but at the same time, technology. And the reason why I say both digital marketing and technology is because we have our own in-house programming team that builds these different new tools that we then work with online in order to attract audiences, in order to track how they behave online, what are they talking about, what do they do once they've gotten into the journey that you've built for them, to understand the behaviors and the responsive of the audiences, and then maybe make a prediction on how your film is going to do when it opens, either in cinemas or online, both in order to have a predictions in terms of the return investment that you've made in the campaign, because we obviously are all trying to invest into something that is not going to succeed. So in order to be able to tell, should we continue with the investment in marketing? Is this the right way, or should we pull down in the budget and spendings? So we ourselves work with very, very small arthouse cinemas, distributors, producers, but also bigger companies like studios like MGM. But you can see here on the example, we work on the Portrait of the Lady on Fire, or Kapernaum, or Parasite. Like, these movies, to be honest, were acquired by very, very small independent distributors across different European territories. We've worked also with producers, like independent producers in Japan, also those that are trying to bring European films to the Asian market, or European distributors trying to bring Asian films to their market. So it's not that we only work with the bigger players, we also work with the indie cinemas and distributors and producers. Mainly the reason for this is we have been partially co-founded by the creative media of the European Union. So we've got now have been receiving fundings in order to build the so-called the audience project, which basically is trying to understand how European audiences are responding to different type of films. What is that made specific films succeed in European territories? Is it the creative assets? Is it the type of communication? Is it the time of the year that the film got released? So we try to understand how audiences behave in Europe, but also how European films that get released on the market are being treated. Why is that some films were successful and some were not? And so that's the reason why we're actually co-founded by the creative media, because they want to know when some of the films got funded, how these movies are going to perform when they get released, how the audiences are going to react to that. So that's why we not only work with the bigger players and studios, but we also work with the European players. Also because it gives us more flexibility to share the results. Because with the studios, they actually, we are obliged to different agreements of confidentiality, so we can't share the reports or results. But with European players, we tend to write up a lot of case studies to share this for everyone to learn. So if you go to, for instance, a Gruvi website, to the blog section, you would probably see there every month a new case study from a different market on what did we do, what did we imply for the campaign, and what actually worked on that campaign and how the audience is reacting. So that's just to point out that that's the reason why we like to work with independent players as well. So here is just an example of the companies that we work with that you can know from both the more well-known as well as less well-known. In terms of lately, we started working a lot with on-demand platforms, with cinemas that created their own version of streaming platforms or virtual cinemas options. That can be, Alamo Drafthouse, Curzon, Triad Play, or Moi Ikino. Moi Ikino is actually an association of small cinemas in Poland that created together an on-demand platform. So I'm going to point out two more of the activities that we've done with them later on in the day. But we have here example as well with a lot of independent distributors. So what are the tools, just in order, before we jump into like what we're going to be talking today, to give you more of the idea, what is that Gruvi does beside the digital marketings to promote and find the audiences online, is that we build these different tools that are deployed as part of the marketing campaign. So say if you have a campaign on Instagram, on Facebook, on Snapchat, TikTok, whatever, we would build these platforms to give a point of sale for the audiences. Because you really don't want to market something and then having the audience to go to Google, search for the title, especially when it comes to really small titles, right? Search for a small title or search for your own cinema, because there's a very, very likely Google will not even pick up on the content of those people that have been really, really proactive and that are well-known branded on Google. So if you're a small player, Google will most likely not even pick up your content or your brand. And so for us, it's important to give a point of sales or direct to that point, the goal of the campaign. So if the film is available on different streaming platforms, either big streaming platforms or local platforms, we want to feature that platform the moment the users start watching those videos on social media, right? Or if the film is being played in cinemas, we want to show straight away where the film can be watched. So this player basically can geolocate wherever you're in the world to point of sales. So either it's be cinemas, so it can geolocate the nearest cinemas to your location and the nearest day when the film is going to be screening, or it can search for the available options online within the local market where the user or the audience can watch the film. So this is basically what we built, and through which we then track how the audiences are responding to the videos online. So here's our program for today. In the morning, I would obviously like to talk about the current state of the online consumption and behavior, because that's for you also very important to understand how audiences in Europe are behaving online these days. What are the challenges caused also by the industry, because we are so fragmented into different groups. And although I don't like to say it, it is the truth that the parties are not really collaborating together well. Like producers are not collaborating so much with distributors, and distributors are not collaborating so much with exhibitors. So there are a few challenges that are caused by the industry. And so what is that we can do in order to overcome these challenges and then get closer to the audiences, because we want to think about the audiences, because they are the people that are going to consume our content. So we need to be as friendly as possible to those people. And then what are the myths of digital marketing practices that have been commonly used in the industry that are just not working? Why is that audience is buying actually? What's the marketing psychology behind the campaigns? And then I want to also point out to the importance of the audience data, because that's the most important part, especially when everything is moving online. This is something that you have access to now, and is quite a unique position that we are all right now, because with traditional marketing, it used to be very, very hard to track what's the impact of that campaign online, offline. But when we're getting now to digital, there's pretty much everything that you can track, all the data that you can collect. So how to understand different analysis of audience data, what we can collect and how we can cluster them. And then I obviously want to showcase how we collect those data, so you guys can take the learnings from this. And then showcase the case studies, so you can see how it works on specific case studies.
So for the afternoon, then we'll be having more practical exercises, all of us together. I will try to explain how we should be segmenting different group of audiences, because that's important that you understand the content, who are we marketing this content to, because it's always the worst if, obviously a lot of us think that the film is available and would be interesting for everyone, that the film is for everyone. But that's like a single word strategy. Go down deep detail into segmenting different of audiences that we want to talk to, because they have different behaviors, they have different interests. So you want to talk to them with these interests. And then we'll also show what are the different types of campaigns and ads that we can set up online. What are the importance of creatives, how you can distinguish and track different responses that audiences have towards to your creatives that you're building, because producers obviously are working on the film. Distributors get specific package that they have really hard, like very often time tight hand on. And so that's very important as well. So in the very beginning of the film, in the development or in the production, we also think about marketing already. So we can work towards having those materials for whoever is going to promote the campaign later on, that it will be a successful campaign. And then what type of communication are we going to create? What type of messages that we're going to create for specific group of audiences? Then I want to show what are available, obviously, social media options, and then ads offered by Google. These are quite different. A lot of like these different activities are now owned already by Google. Let's say YouTube displays and SEM, like Google search ads, are by Google. But social media, Facebook, Instagram are under one group. So they have also differences in terms of what they offer in terms of tracking. So we'll be talking about that. And then for the last part of the day, we'll divide the group into different smaller groups in order to work on a practical exercise. You will watch the trailer, and then you have different things that we'll be trying to work towards together, like understand segmenting these audiences and apply basically the theories that we just talked through. And then, you know, even though we have the Q&A there by the end of the day, as Petar mentioned, feel free to ask anything in the chat, or basically raise your hands or interrupt me, because it's very important for you guys to understand like the terminology that we're talking about, because they will be also applicable for these different platforms when you go and you launch these different type of audiences and ads. So you know that, okay, lookalikes audiences are these type of audiences. What is the custom audiences that I'm referring to? So if you have any questions, ask Petar, write to Petar, or ask me directly, and then we'll stop to explain this, this term. So now for us to start with the presentation itself, I wanted to talk a lot about how audiences are behaving these days online. We know that these days the audiences really are everywhere. So we have, you know, audiences on desktop, you have audiences on smart TV, you have audiences on mobile. So all of these are the factors that you need to keep in mind when you're approaching to the campaign and the film content, right? That these different group of audiences we're talking to are going to be across different devices. They're really everywhere. Moreover, they are very busy and they are overwhelmed with the content choices. There's so many content available on TV. There's so many new streaming platforms that are racing. There are a lot of content there. And now they have to compete with theaters. They have to compete with different entertainment choices, games, for instance, music, etc. Despite all of this, the Europeans are consuming more media per day than ever before. And moreover, with the COVID outbreak in March, we've seen an increase by 27% in entertainment consumption. But even so, the audiences now have quite a different behavior from what they had, say, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, because these social media that are available online are having quite a great algorithm in making people even lazier and lazier every day. So they are in a kind of like a bubble. So imagine that you go to Facebook feed, you have specific content that Facebook thinks that you would like the best. If you go to YouTube, you'll see also suggested videos that YouTube think that you would like the best. The same if you go to Netflix, right? You would have recommended shows that Netflix thinks that would work for you the best. So these our audiences are becoming very, very lazy in terms of like that they should be, you know, exploring more further and discovering. It's also because they don't have time. And then also the attention span is very, very low. So just keep in mind that the audiences are living in the bubble that social media and like online platforms are creating such a great algorithm in order to offer them like the best feed that they should be watching. And so it's even harder for you to compete with the content that is being suggested to them. And obviously the content that is being suggested to them, it's going to be in favor of those that advertise the best and the most. So if there's an advertiser that is working a lot online, they have a lot of content, let's say Disney, right? Disney would have a lot of content, would spend a lot of money budget yearly on advertising their content. So if you have a children movie, a different local one, you'll be competing with like all of these advertisers that have spent more money, and then they've created this bigger bubble for the audiences. So we need to keep this in mind, that this is the reason why it's important to understand how marketing works, because it's really, really difficult to get your content to the audience these days because of this huge bubble. This is just an example exactly from Netflix. Oftentimes we hear also there's so much content on Netflix that audiences don't know like what to watch. There's so much available on Amazon. Producers tend to be really happy that they've sold their content to one of the bigger players, but then the content, it's probably going to get very, very easily lost, because these players are not going to promote your content, especially when it comes to indie small local titles. So we need to overcome these challenges if we want our content to be watched by the audiences. At the same time, there's some good news with the lockdown. We've realized that actually the entertainment preferences are quite different. So cinemas are really not competing against the VOD or TV. It's quite a different experience. So we would be thinking of like those people going to cinemas as if they try to experience something like, going out for dinner, out of home experience, going to restaurants, having fun with their friends outdoor. So whatever now that is going to be available online, it's quite a different type of entertainment. So then also we need to distinguish this whenever we're marketing, either the film that is going to be in theaters or the film that is going to be online, because these audiences are after different experiences. So we need to keep this in mind. And this is often what a lot of people think that marketing campaigns should look like and how it works, that we basically create a content, we advertise the content, people click, and then they buy. This is just not the way how it works, given all what I've just explained in the beginning, because people are living in bubbles, and because there's so much content, there's so many devices, and people are just being distracted these days with a very short attention span. So this is definitely not the model that is working these days. This was the early 2000s. And so we need to think about how to approach to this now. Now, this is the model that used to be in the past, or like until pretty much say, now, with a lot of bigger titles that studios would be working. Say if there's a James Bond release, they would not be necessarily working on all the spans. But this is something that we've seen that distributors in Europe are also deploying on their campaigns, that they would be spending all the money very, very close to the release date and then hope that it's going to work. But this model, we know that would definitely not work for independent or art house films. You need to talk really and inform about this to audiences way, way, way long time ahead. James Bond has a brand. So if they put up a billboard or ads about the release happening in 2 weeks time, people are going to go to see that film. But if you put up about some very quirky, small art house film, an ad about this particular film, 2 weeks prior to that, it's not going to work. But also, this is the theatrical model. When it comes to VOD now, Obviously, it doesn't make sense to start with the campaign and advertise something that is not available to watch yet online, right? So we only wait for the spendings only when the film becomes available. So there are two differences now. We start with the campaign in the ones that are going to get released in theaters way long time ahead than when the film is being released in cinemas. But when it comes to VOD, we only start with the campaign only on the day when the film is available on VOD, because we don't want to annoy the people by advertising something that they can't watch straight away yet. Because these are the different behaviors and experiences. People plan to go out with their friends to a restaurant or for a nightclub or to have this outdoor experience, right? So that's why they need to get to know about the film in theaters way long time ahead, because they can plan this with their friends. Whereas at home, they want to get it straight away and now. So they can't wait for the films to get released in 2 weeks' time. So that's why we now have two different models. This model that I share here on the screen used to be a common use model in the past, but with the new realities, we have to distinguish and keep in mind these new two models that we're working with these days. This is an example of the film. Why is that we need to change the model? Like Parasite, although most of us know that it had great awards, we started actually working on this in May last year, when it had no Oscar nominations, no Golden Globes, nothing very much, except that it won or had some kind of like buzz from festivals and Cannes. But to be honest, like multiplexes would not be booking Cannes winning titles necessarily. Multiplexes go for bigger titles, right? So this is just to demonstrate how marketing can work out even for such a quirky title in Europe. And if we can imagine that there's the director is really not famous for the most of us, for the most of audiences. There are no famous actors. So like, would the marketing campaign offline work really? Like if you have printed billboards, if you have printed buses, if you have flyers, etc., would that really work? And then how would you know that it's going to work? Would TV spots or radio spots or any posters anywhere work? It's really hard to tell, but we think that this wouldn't work, especially on this title, since there's no behaviors or no trend of European audiences consuming Asian titles. There are some, but to be honest, these people are cinephiles. They are very quirky fans of Asian cinematography. There are not very many of them. So how did we do to make such a movie across different European territories as well as territories in Asia to success and get it where it was? It's because we had a really complex digital marketing strategy. The budget was not as big, definitely, as on studio movies, but we had a freedom in terms of what we're going to use, like type of communication, type of posters, type of videos, because the company, like the producers of the film, they didn't care like how we're going to rebuild the assets in Europe, because they knew that they don't know the European market. So the distributors should get their hands on changing these different assets in order for the audiences to get to know about the film. So to the point is that we should understand who the audiences are, but moreover to understand what do they do, because a lot of these audiences would pretend that they are someone specifically, but the behaviors that they do online would quite show differently. So that's why this is what we like to say, that what our audiences do is actually more important than who they are, or who they say especially that they are, because oftentimes it doesn't have to be true. So on the Parasite case, we created a lot of different segments of audiences, because you can imagine that this film can resonate with boys that are 18 years old, but also women, females that are 50 years old, right? So it's a content that can speak to boys, but also like grandmothers. And so we have now different segment of audiences. The video that we're going to present to the boys are not going to resonate with the videos we're going to present to those grandmoms. So we need to understand what are different segments of audiences. So for Parasite in particular, we create 10 different segments of audiences. We had 6 different interest-based and 4 custom behavioral audiences. So what's the interest-based audiences? Interest-based audiences are, say, if I can identify audiences that like thrillers, that like action movies, that like Quentin Tarantino, like these interests that they have. And then custom behavioral is basically the audiences that I know that behave some certain way. So these basically will be launched only later in the campaign when you get more understanding of these audiences. I'll get to that. So we basically create this landing page, as I showed. This page, it's basically a website. If so to say, if you don't want to work with an agency that is going to build for your website, you can build a website by yourself, and you can have their specific dates when and cinemas where the film is going to be playing. So then you can track who are the audiences that are interacting with these different venues. So basically, we create this website that we're part of the video campaigns on Facebook. And we then set up 10 different segments of audiences. To each of them, we communicated with different video clips. With each of these segments, they also have different ad copies. Ad copies are the messages that they see. Let's say, Parasite is blah, 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 playing in these cinemas, come to watch it. Like this is an example of the message, an ad copy. So we set up for each of the segment of audiences also different messages, different ad copies. And then we were testing how the audiences would be reacting to different videos or to different ad copies that we created for them. And from our understanding, then we could, make a conclusion that say, males 18 years old prefer to watch these type of clips that are rather like funny and that are provocative. But females, say 35 years old, would be rather seeing clips that are showing that this is a good brand, this is a high quality content, curated by Cannes Film Festival. And then we would be having, say, segments of like the older generation, like the female. Then we will be talking about the social, the aspects of the social and political message of the movie. So you see here that just with one movie, we can create different segments of audiences and we can show different aspects of the film because each of different group of audiences are going to like to see different message that they should be understanding from the movie. And then when we have this platform with different cinemas, so in the beginning of like the campaign, especially in like the territories where it didn't have in May or June last year when it didn't have any nominations yet, the film didn't have any bookings from the multiplex. Like the cinemas that would be booking the film would be the niche, art house, small cinemas, somewhere in this different type of cities that had some audiences like art house fans already, students from humanities, students from film studies going to visit those cinemas. And so what we did is we had all of these cinemas displayed under the video for the campaign, because if the film is not available in multiplexes, it's going to really be hard for the audiences to find where the film is screened. By showing where the film is playing, in which cinemas, in which small locations, the users started tracking and interacting with these different venues. So the moment they started clicking on those venues or different dates, we started to understand what type of audiences that actually are interested in seeing the film. Because nowadays online, you have, for any videos, let's say on Facebook, right? You would be getting hundreds of thousands of video views. I'd say on YouTube as well. It's just, there's so many people that watch things online, but not necessarily are going to go to watch the film. So we wanted to understand who are those people that were genuinely interested in checking those little cinemas in the cities that would be playing the film. When we started collecting this, we got an understanding of which segments of audiences that we set up in the beginning would be responding the best, and what type of audiences are these. And then from that, we created those custom audiences. So that's basically, I take the profiles of those people who interacted with the cinemas, and then I can tell Facebook or Google, find for me people that have similar preferences and pattern and behavior like these guys. So they are very quirky. There are only a few of them. Can you find for me people that have similar or profiles and interests like those guys? So this is something that Google and Facebook already offers to you or to advertisers when they set up their campaign. So for us, basically doing the Parasite campaign, the custom lookalikes audiences. So the lookalikes audiences, the guys that are similar to the ones that try to investigate the showtimes and the cinemas, work the best. So whenever we showed them the trailer, those people would convert the best. And so the more basically we started broadening this pool based on collected data, the better admissions, and then the cinemas would be accepting actually even more and more because the first screening or first cinema would get sold out. So the more we started targeting audiences, we brought up the reach of the audiences, the more bookings the film would get. And then until it got to reach to the point when even the multiplex would actually book the film. So this is just a very example, a case just in the beginning to show how actually this very quirky film got launched on the European market. So it got booked by the multiplexes and got the admissions numbers as high as the big studio titles as well. But right now there are quite a lot of challenges because of COVID, obviously. What's happening is distributors are trying to shorten the theatrical run. Up until now, there used to be a kind of like policy, right? That the film would be in theaters for certain weeks until it could leave to digital. And there are a lot of producers that know that their film can't just be sold. Festivals are facing challenges as well. They don't know what's going to happen to their film. So they say, go to one of those online marketplaces like Cinemarket, try to bid for their movies online. And so this is going to change as well. This new era is going to change a lot on how windows are going to be open for each specific films. And we think that films are going to get started, released online way earlier than it used to be before. And so what it's that everyone needs to keep in mind why everything is going to start moving online. A good thing about the local players is that when producers will start approaching to Amazon or iTunes or Google Play or to all of these bigger players or distributors even to sell their content, they will really have challenges in order to track the film performance. Or this is a message to the distributors in general. Whoever is right now here in the room, producers or distributors, this is what you should keep in mind. Amazon is taking really, really long time to report in terms of sales, but that's not such a trouble as the affiliate program. And what's the affiliate program? It's basically a program that allows you as an advertiser or as the owner to have a link, create a link for the film. It's basically a film page, right? And you have the link to the film page, which you can use as part of the campaign to show where the users can buy or watch the movie. So Amazon eventually created a similar program where if you use a specific link, they can report to you back how many users were coming or came to that link to buy. So say you distribute different links to different partners. You can distribute this to one marketing campaign on Facebook or on YouTube, or a different, magazine that is focused on films. So you can distribute different links to those different campaigns. And from those different links, they work like as an UTM links where you can track the traffic, the number of users coming to these specific links, because each of the link is different. So Amazon can allow you to create some kind of affiliate programs, the tracking, so you can understand inside of the Amazon program the number of traffic coming from each of the campaign, from each of the link that you generated for the product. The thing is, it's not very reliable, and they can shut it down anytime, because the affiliate program is not really an affiliate program, it's an associate program. It's to allow, say, influencers to market some products. So if, say, you have a specific product, not a film, but anything that is being used by an influencer, the influencer can use the specific link, right? And they can share it on their profile. The more people are purchasing the product via this link that the influencers shared, the influencer is getting a commission from that. So this is how Amazon works. They want people to market their products and give them the commissions. At the moment you're starting to get more traffic towards that one link, as if you are an influencer to this, then they can shut down that link. So then it's no longer works. The most reliable here is iTunes. iTunes can allow you to create an affiliate program, the tracking link, and you can track exact numbers coming from, you know, either from Facebook, from this campaign, or you create a different link for, you know, say Variety, if they're going to run your campaign. Then you see the number of audiences that came from the link you created for them, and the number of sales happen, like conversions from those sales. So iTunes would be most reliable, but they are really late as well with the reporting in terms of direct sales. Google Play, with Google Play, it's almost impossible to be tracking like how your films, who are the audiences that are coming from your campaign to Google Play. So with all of these bigger players, it's almost basically impossible to track the conversion, track the sales from your campaign. So it's really hard to know how much of the budget you should be spending in terms of to promote the film to be watched. So a lot of producers or distributors would then be thinking of selling rather the content to local VOD players. So that's a better option, we think. Also, because it's just that more likely the audiences these days are going to be supporting the local VOD players if they have a good brand. But if you can talk to them to share with you the more often sales results, or set up this tracking links, then it's easier to track. So we see here that there are some threats that a lot of content are going to be easily sold to the bigger players, but with the bigger players there comes a lot of challenges, and so it's better to go to the local players. And so what can be done then if we go to local players? This is an example, again, in Poland, when I think this campaign was launched in March or April during the COVID lockdown, when all the cinemas were shut. And we knew that Parasite is having already its brand from the last year, but we have here also different movies that the distributor has in the catalog. And all of these films are available on, specifically here, cineman.pl, which is a very little small VOD player in Poland. So they wanted to rather market like all of these films on this VOD platform to maybe sell the other titles through the flagship of the Parasite title. So we set up basically a campaign on Facebook promoting several titles at once. And then we were targeting all the audiences from Parasite that we knew that were buying the film in order to show them different titles, see if they would be interested in or not. Because if they can see that this is a marketer that is selling Parasite, now has different type of films, maybe it's quite reliable brand to see, because these movies would be good as well. It's the same, like, if you're a buyer of Samsung product or Dyson as a brand, then if Dyson is launching not a vacuum but anything else, then you would have a trust in this brand. So this is basically what we did. We took one flagship title in order to market different films. And so in less than a week, we spent 337 euros on advertising and we generated 6,880 euros in return from those ads. It's not a humongous number, but during the lockdown, this was a pretty good number actually for the distributor to earn in terms of like how much they invested in advertising and how much they got in return. But we only succeeded because we tracked the audiences from the Parasite campaign and we collected the audiences for them. So we could run the retargeting, basically all the people that bought Parasite or engaged with the Parasite. We launched this campaign to show them different films. So that's the main audiences that work out on this campaign. And so this is again, the whole point of why is that it's important to track audiences, not only for distributors, but also for exhibitors. If you have a whole catalog of say great films, of films that you trust in, that you curate, then you really want to collect them all in order to inform them about new titles that will be coming up. So this is what it's the proof that if we have the correct audiences, it's very much little that we can spend, but a lot can be actually returned back in revenues. And so this is the point of what we want to, or what I want to show today here, that as a distributor, you can create different landing pages, websites. It's not easy to have tags set up on your website. So the way how we track audiences is Google allow us to have setup of different trackings options under, like in the back end of the website. We call them tags. So obviously, if you're a producer, like your work is mainly into make a movie, find the investments, these tags are taking for anyone to set up on like a website from scratch, maybe 7 up to 10 hours to do. So you could hire anyone for 10 hours to do this for you. If you're a cinema, you have a website, right? Where audiences are buying tickets online. If you don't have tags as well, you can hire a person to set up the tags in 10 hours time to pay this once. And once it's done, it's for good. So it will be there and you'll be able to track these audiences. So our point is you're selling the content online already these days, but you need to understand the audiences. In order to understand the audiences and the buyers, you need to have those trackings set up on your website. With the tracking set up on the back end of the website, you can collect all of these audiences to utilize them for your ads, as we just showed. With retargeting of all the audiences from the Parasite, we could generate money for different titles during the lockdown for the distributor. Also, once you've got the different group of audiences that you know that are coming from different sources to your website that bought, then you can store them in order to understand their preferences for future campaigns. And so the whole idea is basically collecting in different type of audiences and understanding where they are coming from. Say, are they coming from Facebook, or are they coming from YouTube, or are they coming from Google to your website? What type of audiences that came from Facebook? The interest base, the guys interested in Quentin Tarantino, or the guys interested in thriller films that came to the website. If they came to the website, I know that I can collect these audiences and say if there's a new film coming up in the future, I can retarget these audiences, specifically the audiences that I've been clustering. So here are the suggestions basically made for the two groups, distributors and producers, or exhibitors. With producers and distributors, right now it's important to plan the marketing budget that includes both theatrical and a VOD release. Because what happens is if the film gets released in theaters and with the lockdown happening anytime that can happen, you have a lot of audiences that you already say track or communicated to, they didn't get to see the film. So you can retarget them with the VOD release. Or if you have, say, specific group of audiences collected from also previous campaigns in theaters, and you are launching for a new movie with a VOD because the windows are now short, If you have available budget for VOD, you can retarget all of these audiences, try to sell the film then online when it gets, if these audiences haven't watched the film yet. So just distinguish the budget and the type of campaigns and think about that when you plan for the release, when it's going to get released in theaters and when it's going to get released on VOD, and have the budget split it for both options. Keep the audiences informed about those cinemas. As mentioned, you can create really the landing page. If you don't work with Gruvi or any agency, you can create a landing page, a website for yourself. You can keep there the information on when it's going to be available in cinemas, the film is going to be in which cinemas and what time. Everything can be manually done. With us, it's just that we have everything very automized. It's a system that we built that collect showtimes automatically from cinemas, have tracking set up automatically, but this is something that everyone can build by themselves because it's just a website for anything, like website as Amazon website. So people go there to buy. So if you have a website for your film, you can track that. And then focus only on digital campaign these days, because as said, with digital, you can track everything, whereas with offline, it's really hard to track. Even with press, whenever you're pushing for a lot of press via different channels and news, we don't know how this is going to convert, whereas with digital, you can track the conversion as the campaign run and understand whether it's paying off or not at all, and turn it off campaign completely. And also you can reuse these audiences from the previous campaigns and from the previous films. Again, with exhibitors, if you have already a cinema website that is existing, people go there and you have the audiences collected that you're communicating to them via some newsletters already. You should also have a full trackable website. You should optimize the website so it's as much visible as possible on via Google. So whenever the users is searching for specific film, your website will be popping up on Google. But this is a long-term type of work, but how about tracking on the audiences, at least the ones that buy? Because if you can track the audiences who buy already the movies from your website, then and you can start clustering, okay, these A audiences are interested in these female art house movies. B audiences are interested in action movies. So whenever you have a new action movie, you can retarget all of these audiences. Or whenever you have a new art house movie, you can retarget all of these audiences. So have the tracking set up on your website. And it's hard to just say that you should have a tracking on your website, but there are a lot of people that are very trained well with how to set up these trackings. It's basically Google tools that Google is offering, and then getting in touch with a developer who built the website basically to insert a few of these codes. I myself don't know how to do this, but if you have a developer that you can put in touch with a trained person that understands Google, then this is one-time setup. In a couple of hours, it can be done, and you can have a fully trackable website. But once the website is tracked already, you also need to share the information from your analytics with distributors or producers, because this is a challenge in the industry that producers are actually in the dark. They don't know what's going on with the film at all and how it's performing. And distributors actually don't know who are the buyers. Although the distributors are most often time spending the money on promoting the film, they actually don't know the profiles of the buyers of the film. So just sharing this information with distributors, talking to different parties that are involved in the film, will help them to maybe invest even more money into promoting the film, maybe figuring out of different platforms where to launch the activity. If they know that most buyers are females, 45, interested in, fashion, then they can launch different, more press activities through different sites that are female focused, for instance. And then engage in the campaign as well yourself, because we've seen that a lot of distributors obviously are promoting the film, and exhibitors are not so engaging with the audiences. Obviously, they do promote offline in the cinemas itself, but they're not so engaging. But oftentimes also good cinemas with a good brand. As you build the brand, you build also the audiences that are supporting your brand. And so you should also engage with these audiences and share the results with the distributors for them to learn in order to feed these information back to the campaign. And then also track distributors' campaign. Like distributors are running the campaign, but exhibitors should know how it is doing in order to estimate what's the potential reach, what they can be doing as well in addition to that to make the film success. And here's just another example. So this is an example from our report from a campaign where we reach out to 4 million impressions. So impressions is something on social media or on Google when you run ads. It's a number of time that the ad, say your video trailer, has popped up on someone's feed. That's the impression. With impression, you can buy. So the more budget you have, the more you can buy, right? The placement, how many times the ad are going to be popping up. So this is something you can buy. But then you have different things that you cannot really buy. We call them actions, and under actions are all, say, completed video views. If someone is watching the trailer or the clip until the very end, someone that clicked through from the video, someone that is commenting, sharing the experience with friends, someone is reacting to the ad. So all of these are kind of like meaningful actions, interactions that the audiences are making that you cannot really buy, because if the film is not interesting enough, the audiences are not going to make any actions. You can buy the impressions, but they're not going to make any actions. So here's the point. If you have within a specific budget that you buy these impressions on Google and on Facebook, and you see that the actions are very, very low, then most likely something is wrong with the campaign. Either the content, the trailer, it's not just attractive enough, or the ad copies, the messages are not attractive enough, or just the channels you're targeting. Maybe Facebook is just not the right channel at all. So if we can track these actions already, then we can attribute the potential sales to the campaign. So think of, is this paying off? Like, do I have enough audiences that are interested in the campaign? Because if I see that there are a lot of actions, then I know that there will be a lot of potential audiences that the film can reach to, and that they could go actually to see the film. So maybe I can keep buying those impressions. But obviously, with a lot of these audiences, we also need to keep in mind the retargeting, because with those campaigns, if the theatrical campaigns especially, if we launch the campaign, say 3 weeks, 4 weeks prior to the release, which is really important to launch it so much in advance, as said, because the audiences needs to learn about the film, because it's an art house film, it's not a well-known brand, and then also because they need to organize their life, because it's a going out experience right now. They need to, talk to their friends. Do you want to go to cinemas with me, and organize this? When is that they have time to go? And so that's why I need to start working on the campaign 3-4 weeks prior to the release. Because if it's a shorter time, then maybe when they make up their mind to go to see the film, the movie has already left the theaters. Because if it doesn't open really well on the opening weekend, then cinemas start booking different films, right? So we all need, both cinemas, distributors, and producers need to work already much in advance to talk about the movie to the audiences. And so here also, if I see that a lot of people have already clicked through from ads to the landing page where we show different venues, cities, where we show different information, then when it comes closer to the release, I need to remind those people again. So we should run a retargeting campaign. So on Facebook, on Google, you can run also a retargeting campaign. So you can set up specific campaign and tell Google and Facebook, retarget all the people that say, watch the trailer until the end, that click through, that investigate these different venues, that reacted to the ads or shared the ads with the friends. So you need to keep in mind also the retargeting phase. But then how about those people that I know from the landing page that we have here, the different cinemas? If So basically, if you don't have showtimes, you can have different cinemas on the landing page, right? And you can link those different cinema, the website of the cinema to this particular venue on your website. So the way how Gruvi does is we have specific showtimes we collect. If you don't have, access to the showtimes, you just say the film is being played in this, and this particular cinema. Link those cinemas to the website of the actual cinema. So the audiences doesn't have to go to Google and find a specific cinema, but if they click on the cinema, they're going to be redirected to that particular website of the cinema. So this is what you can do. And then when you track the clicks happening to the cinemas, then you know that you've done everything already, that the buyers most likely have made up their mind if they're going to buy or not. So maybe you should exclude those audiences from further targeting, because this is what's happening also with a lot of advertisers, not only in the film industry, but e-shops, like that. I go to buy the shoes and literally those websites keep targeting me, even though I already bought the shoes. And that's so annoying. Not only annoying for the audience that is keep seeing those ads, but also it's a waste of money. It's a waste of time, money everyone's spending on the campaign. So if someone has already bought, you don't want to target those people again. You want to exclude them completely from targeting. So if I see that someone have already exited to the cinema website, I can make an assumption that I've done all the best that I could for the person to go to the cinema website. So now let's just exclude that person from the targeting. And if you're an exhibitor, exactly, if you see that some audiences have came already to your website, they have bought the ticket, you should completely exclude those people from further targeting. But maybe you can launch a different campaign that has different films or available options to offer them in a different week's time frame, to communicate with them that there's a different movie, to build a relationship and the cinema going behavior. But then also when we have the profiles of those users that bought already, then exactly as I said, what we can do is we can take all of these audiences to build those custom lookalikes audiences. So we can tell Google and Facebook, find for me people that have similar preferences and pattern and show them the trailer. Like this, I can increase the reach, the potential reach. And then if, say, during the campaign, there are already 60,000 people that click through around the showtimes, click through around different venues where they can watch the film, or click through different options where to watch film online right now, say different local VOD players. But they didn't even buy yet. If I know that they didn't buy, like say they clicked through different options, but they didn't exit to buy, then I know that those people are really, really interested in, but they didn't convert yet. So we need to retarget them again. And those audiences we call as maybes, that they are maybe going to convert, they are interested in, but I have a much higher chance to retarget those people rather than going back to those 4 million impressions, right? Because if the ads are showing up to 4 million times to, let's say, 400,000, with a limited budget, you can't retarget again those 400,000 people, but you can if you track, then you can retarget those, say 50, 60,000 people that already clicked around. They didn't exit to buy yet, but they're like the most potential, the biggest potential buyers. So we can retarget them again, show them a different trailer, show them a different message. And the more they actually see this, the higher there is chance that they're actually going to convert, because they already know the content. So we're missing only a little piece in order for them to finish the purchase. Whereas if I go back to all the people that just saw by one impression the ad, then there's still a lot to communicate through. Or even those people that completed watching the trailer, we see here that we showed the trailer to 4 million people, 4 million times. And then 400,000 people watched the trailer until the end. That's still a very, very huge number. So I would still need a huge budget to retarget all of those people who watched the trailer. So I would rather retarget only those people that click through to different venues, to investigate different venues and cities. Then I need smaller budget, and I'm going to talk to higher prospects, eventually the higher potential prospects. rather than the completed video views. So this is just how to see different actions, but all of these, this is something that it will be available within Google or within Facebook that you can collect. You can collect complete video views, you can collect shares, post reactions, and you can collect link clicks. It's just that you can't create custom lookalikes and tell Facebook to search for similar audiences if you don't have the landing page that is trackable. So you have to have a landing page that have a trackings that you can understand who are those audiences that come through. Otherwise, you then work only with those completed video views or the people that reacted to the post. So here is the difference to show what we can do actually when we can reach out to the relevant of audiences. As I said, there's some interest-based audiences. So segment G, genre, is basically all the audiences that like the specific genre of the films that we targeted. We reach out to 66,000 people, and only that amount of people click through actually to investigate the ticket purchase, which is 0.8%. But then when we got enough of the people that visited the landing page, that visited the different and investigated different venues where they can watch the film and where they can buy, we told Facebook and other social media platforms, find for us those people that have similar profiles and preferences. And we call them those lookalikes based on showtimes interactions. So find for me people that have similar pattern and behavior, like the one that investigated showtimes. So this is the segment that we set up. We reach out to 140,000 people, and that many people click through, which is 16%. So there is quite a difference here. If we have a specific limited budget that we can reach out to, if 0.8% people are going to convert and buy, or 16% people are going to convert and buy. So yeah, so this is just to demonstrate really the power of the type of online advertising, and if you are using the correct audiences for those ads. And again, I can't not stress enough that it's really important to collect the audiences consistently. So once you have the website, like say the cinema website or the landing page for the film that is being released, if you have the tracking set up there, it's not enough to just have trackings, like an easy tracking that, okay, you understand that audiences are coming through and then you can retarget them. But in order to use them in the future, you need to understand where they're coming from which type of campaigns they're coming from which type of videos they're coming from which type of sites you're coming from which type of location they're coming from. So we don't care that this person is called, I don't know, ABC name and is 35 years old and live in here. We don't need the personal information. We can stay still within GDPR, and then we can only track that this person is a device hash, I don't know, ABC, hash 50. This is a whatever person that came from Facebook that likes these type of things on Facebook, has this type of behavior. And so if you know this information, then you can retarget, and then you can, when you have the next campaign, on Facebook, you can launch a campaign and tell Facebook, retarget for me those people, exactly that I've just tracked for you, or I just offered for you. So you can feed the information you get from those landing pages back to the social media platforms and tell them that they can retarget. So see here, it's another example from using of behavioral audiences. So with segment X, which is retargeting previous titles, we've got 369 impressions of the ads and 4,000 people click through. But even 4,000 people click through, it only generated $147 in revenues. In contrary to that, we have segment Y that had only 12,000 impressions. So obviously these 12,000 of impressions, we paid for that much less. We had much less clicks, 168, but more meaningful clicks that they actually 32 people purchased. So that's more actually revenues generated from this small campaign with less impressions than the bigger campaign. So that's a point, that more impressions does not necessarily mean that you're going to generate more money. So with a smaller budget, with a niche title, you can still generate more revenues than the big budgets that are not correctly set up. Here I wanted to show the dashboard to the Alamo Drafthouse. So this is basically a cinema in the US, an independent cinema chain in the US that opened and established their on-demand platform this year. And we started working with their platform. We basically set up the trackings on the platform in order to understand the campaigns that we'll launch when we advertise to people, how those people are going to react and how they're generating their revenues. And so obviously it's important to understand that we have also people that are coming through several times that are buying more, or that they're coming through in, say, within the 2 weeks time again, and then buying again. So here we set up different type of campaigns. This is a campaign's name. This is basically just a convention that we created, that we have different titles here, like in China, they eat stocks or whatever, awesome gang. These basically are different type of campaigns. And then impressions that we bought. And then here you see purchase value in total from each of these campaigns. So from this one particular campaign, we can tell that we had a purchase value of 60,000, whereas from these and then we only had 77,000 impressions. Whereas from this campaign, where we had more impressions, we generated only 1,000 in revenues. So here are the really differences that you can do. This is towards now cinemas or distributors that are looking maybe into launching their own video platform, or cinemas that are looking into launching their video platform. That if you have really a correct setup, you can really track the impressions that are coming from the campaign, purchase that have been made, and the purchase value, depending on like how much the film actually costs on the platform, and the return investment. And then because we have these type of campaigns, we can also turn on and turn off and optimize different strategies based on our learnings from these. Here is the German films dashboard. I actually wanted to show as well. So we work with a German film institution in order to promote German films abroad, basically during the lockdown in different territories. And we set up different type of films for different territories. But most of the films were, say, similar in different territories. And for us, it was important to understand what are the titles that are most attractive, but not only that they're attractive in terms of attracting users to the platform, but also that are generating most of exits to buy or to watch. So we see here that, say, although Helmut Newton campaign generated that many users to the platform, Weg ohne Auto, it's a different title, that attracted less people to the platform, but more of those people would then go to buy or watch. So this is again towards the cinemas or distributors that are looking into launching their own VOD platform. It's very important to understand not only which type of campaign that you've set up, because one campaign can promote different titles that are generating most revenues, but also which are the titles that are generating most of audiences and exits. And this doesn't come only to only titles. We can have here different videos. Say we have video 1, 2, 3. So how many users these particular videos generated users to the platform, and how many exits, like the conversion sales, like these videos generated. So all of these can be quite easily actually set up. It's, with a bit of knowledge of how Google tags work, or just hire someone that can implement, because this is a one-time setup. Once the trackings have been set up on the website and analytics are on the place, then when you launch the campaign, everything is connected and this dashboard is being updated regularly in a lifetime. So back to the presentation. And then when it comes to, if we are looking at launching a VOD player, if you guys are looking into launching a VOD player, obviously, then you need to think in a more of a long-term and lifetime value. That is, say, if one user from the campaign came from a campaign to a website and bought, say, one movie, we need to understand if this person is going to come over time as well, right? If this person is coming in 2 weeks' time, in 3 weeks' time again to buy more. Because if this is a person that is a regular buyer, then we also need to treat them differently, to talk to them more often when you have a new title. Also to attribute to those campaigns in the beginning that you set up that could generate higher revenues in the long term. So this also, it's important to keep in mind that when you set up the campaign, obviously we want to distinguish different objectives. We want to attract the new users to the platform. We want to generate revenues for the films, but also we want to generate revenues in long term. So we want to build a pool of audiences that are going to come over time, that are going to buy more often than only once, in order to build the brand. But also it's really, when it comes to VOD, it's really hard, say if there's a new VOD platform, to just say that, right now we're going to launch a campaign in order to generate fast revenues in the lockdown. That's just not how it works, because the audiences are not going to sign up to a platform that they don't know. So you also need to distinguish different type of campaigns. So say with 1 month, I'm going to set up a campaign only in engagement. So we need to spend and invest some money on engaging the audiences online, and then tell them that this is a new platform. Once they've got a little bit of better trust, they're going to sign up to the platform. So we're going to run a second campaign where there's going to be, objectives is going to be sign up. So we're going to try to drive all the audiences that already engage to sign up to the platform, just to register. That doesn't mean that they're going to buy yet, but just only to register. And then obviously, they're not going to, some of the audiences that came to their site, they're not going to buy straight away, because in order to buy, that means that they would need to insert their credit cards to the platform. So if they don't know that platform very well yet, they were not going to spend either. So after we've got a campaign of signing up and engagement, we can launch a campaign for conversion, for selling. Then we would be communicating mainly to those users that have already been to the platform, say multiple times. And now we'll talk to them about different films and why they're interesting that they could watch them. So just to also bear in mind that whenever you're communicating to a new audience, it doesn't mean that they're going to buy straight away. That means also with the cinemas, like if not only the VOD player, if there's a new user that you guys are targeting and the user doesn't know the brand yet, they don't necessarily have to buy the ticket and visit the cinema. They need to have that relationship. And the same with distributors. If you're talking to audiences over time, you need to distinguish the type of campaigns you're after. Are you building an awareness campaign to promote different videos, to share with them what the film is about? Or are you trying to communicate about where the film is going to be available in which cinemas? So these are the different type of campaigns that can be distinguished as well. But we'll get to that too. Again, this is the transparent real-time tracking. So that's all about the Google tags. Once you start setting up the Google tags on your website, you can have an analytics dashboard that is going to share all the information. Players in the industry tend to keep the information only to themselves, but we believe that there's no really harm to share the results from, say, cinema website to distributors, because it's not that they have access, to your own platform that they can change anything, but share of the information on like what type of campaigns work, what type of films work, so they can learn from this also for future campaigns or future releases. And so here are major points to keep in mind, that we should know the relative value of the various of the ad platforms. So what is actually that is generating revenues, that is driving users towards your platform or towards your campaign. If it's a single title, what platform is generating most users to investigate cinemas? If it's a cinema or VOD platform, what is the channel that is driving most traffic towards your website? Knowing these platforms will help you a lot to predict the potential revenues, but also assess on how much of the investment is that you should be making towards of each of these social channels. And as said, it's really important to ensure that ads are no longer served to those users that already made a purchase, because that's so annoying. Because if they're going to see it several times, although they have already bought the same content, it's going to create a very, very bad fatigue that they will not want to come back, maybe. And so it's better to exclude those audiences completely from the campaign, or launch a campaign that is going to show them something else. And then use all of the information to test new data sets, like audiences as well. So if you know that, say, females 45 are the ones that are coming most to the platform because they've seen this particular video, could that be applicable to a different movie as well? So use these different learnings to apply from movie to movie, but also to a different segments of audiences. So we'll work with more of these segments of audiences after the break, where we can try to set up different hypotheses. And then in general, the goal is basically to generate all the sales and the lifetime value. So for distributors, obviously we want to work with audiences to generate sales with one movie, but also with another movie, not to start the campaign from scratch with every single title. The same for producers. You don't want to start this from scratch with every single new film that you're making, but you want to collect all of these audiences, because you know that if they're buyers of your films, most likely the next movie you're going to buy, they're going to be a potential buyers, because I believe that distributors have a consistent way of buying similar titles or targeting similar audiences. For cinemas and VOD players, again, understand the lifetime value of the subscriber. If they're coming over time to the platform, how many times have they bought? If you targeted them 3 times and they didn't buy, why is that? Should we launch a different campaign so to see if they're going to buy, or should we launch a different type of message because this message didn't work? Or maybe if really they didn't work, can we just exclude them completely because we want to prioritize those people that came to the platform and are buying regularly, like those lifetime customers. And so here are a few just tips that we actually have done. If you're thinking of launching a new VOD player or creating some kind of like incentives for audiences, either to drive for online watches or to engage with the audiences with a new movie. When it comes to online activities, it really works a lot on the e-commerce strategy. So even though it sounds strange, the giveaway would work the best when it comes to a new platform. Either it's a newly launched cinema or newly launched VOD player, or if you have a catalog of films that you're trying to promote on, say, Amazon or on a local VOD player, can you give away something, or like on a local VOD play, can we give something away? That worked for us really the best when we work with VOD players. That these distributors gave away some of their movies or they were willing to give away some of the movies that the users could watch for free. If there's available budget, then obviously it's not really giving away for free, but for every single new watch, say a new VOD player or a new on-demand platform, if the user is going to watch something for free, then actually you're paying back the distributor if you can't secure that deal with the distributor and have some available finances. And then discount as well, buy one and watch 2 films. It sounds ridiculous, but really it worked a lot, and it worked really well for our campaigns. Because users just tend, especially when it comes to online and when they're at home, they tend to like these type of offers because they think that they're going to save up actually on this. But the thing is, with giveaway for free, when you give away for free, you're going to incentivize them to come back to the platform to discover more, to build the trust that they would have with the platform. With buy one and watch 2 film, again, incentivize them to actually that this is a good platform, this is a good deal, build the trust and get familiar with the platform. The more they watch, actually, the better and familiar they're going to be more with the platform in order to actually buy. And then we launched also a giveaway and a support campaign. So basically it's a buy movie for your friends or family and support their art house cinemas. So this is something that is working as well. And we think that we're going to launch a bigger campaign towards Christmas with this, both for the art house cinemas that have launched on-demand platform, as well as with distributors that have launched their on-demand platform. And here we can see, I think that we have different segment of audiences. And again, we can see here the amount spent, actually, that's interesting. So we have here, for instance, segment L, Alamo purchase lookalikes. We spent 100,000 pounds or 123,000 pounds, 123 pounds. And we generated 1,197 pounds, but with the 90% of video view lookalikes, we spent 121 pounds, but generated 4,468 pounds. So it's the same amount spent, yet quite different purchase value from this again. But with each of these campaigns here, with each of these segment of audiences, we set up really like these different like incentives to give away the discount, the support for them actually to buy. And over time, when you have the view through actually pixel setup or like view through tracking setup, you can see that although you gave away something for free, people would return back over say 2-3 weeks time and buy again. And then they've generated that revenue in order to understand the investment, even though say distributors would not be willing to give something for free to watch, but that you would have to pay for each of a single watch. So how many times people would come back again to the platform. And this actually would work if distributors say have a catalog of films that they are also willing to promote on the like a local platform. And for every single watch that would be for free, they would have to pay this themselves as well. But just to get the understanding that there will be a return in revenues. It's really rare that we've seen that people would actually watch something for free and never return back, because we then keep talking to them with new releases. And if the platform is actually friendly and it's easy to navigate through and it's not frustrating to buy anything, most of these people would actually starting to come back to discover new titles and buy. And so, yeah, so before we actually get into the practical part, we'll cover some of the ideas. Why is that some audiences buy? And then how to leverage on this. So for us, in order to understand why is that the audiences buy, and what we believe is that we need to communicate about the purpose of the campaign, and what is that we believe with the campaign. So for instance, I'm giving here an example that the film industry is suffering now and we want to help. So if you can communicate somehow and understand this purpose of like the way of thinking that the audiences have, because these are the questions that audiences would be questioning, like why, how, and what. So what's the purpose of this campaign then? Why are you selling this? So give the audiences a reason of like, what's the purpose of this campaign and what do you believe? So with any of the movies, then you need to communicate the purpose of this film and what do you believe to achieve with this film. And then how these actions are taken and what's the process. So here again, the film industry is suffering and we want to help. And our point is we want to serve the best independent films or arthouse film available to watch at home. And what's the results? A new VOD player. So these are just the questions to think through on the way of how we're going to approach to the audiences, because they have these some subconscious questions in their mind that we need to cover in order for them to get a comprehensive answer enough to actually start engaging or pay attention even to your campaign. So if there's a new VOD player, we need to show what's the purpose of this new VOD player, why is that we believe in it, and how these actions are taken into consideration. Or say if there's a new film, so what's the purpose of this new film? Because it's educational and we want to teach about this particular topic. And why is that we want to teach about this particular topic? Because it helps, say, for instance, this one particular group that the film is talking about, say, children's in health. So always think about these three questions: why, how, and what. What's the purpose? What's the process, and how are we taking this into consideration? And what's the results and why we're selling it? And once we've communicated this to the audiences, we have a higher chance to increase their attention, that they're going to grasp the idea, because that's just a subconscious idea that this is what people need actually in order to acknowledge that this is a legitimate and that they can validate this product. And yeah, because this is what we've learned over time, that people do this because they're geared to recognize the meaning before they observe any objects. So if there's no meaning behind, like, an object, then it will be hard for them actually to engage, either that be a product that you're trying to sell, or the content, the platform you're going to launch, or the film that is going to become available. And here, it's another example of how to distinguish these different profiles. We have Bob and Dave here. They both are age 44. They both are males. This is their income, and this is the location where they live. And yet, these two guys, Bob and Dave, have different profiles, right? Bob is very risk averse. Bob is introvert, conscientious business owner, and he makes decisions very carefully. Whereas Dave is highly extrovert, highly creative, makes spontaneous decisions, and like pork pies. So Bob and Dave, each of them have, even though they have the same profile here, the same kind of in terms of demographics, they have different personalities. And these personalities are going to shape quite a lot the way of how they're going to behave in terms of when they face something new. So when they face a campaign, an ad, they're going to take different actions. So with these actions, I meant, say, Bob take decisions carefully. So he is going to click to the landing page. He's going to read through the synopsis. He is going to watch the trailer, and then he's going to check a couple of times when the film is being played. Or he is going to go to your VOD player or cinema website. He's going to check where the cinema is, what type of deals the cinema offers, what type of films the cinema plays, and just be an observer. And he's not going to make even a purchase. He's just going to drop. But Dave maybe is taking a different approach. So when he faced the campaign and the landing page, he would just watch the trailer, click on the showtime, share it with friends, and buy straight away. Or he would go to cinema website, check the film, when is it available, and then buy 2 tickets straight away, or not buy the tickets, share that with the friend, and then just agree with the friend that they're going to go there on Thursday evening to see the film. So there are different behaviors that Bob and Dave are making. Not only that because they are having different preferences in what they see, but also in terms of actions that they would be making. So for all of these actions they're making, we want to understand how to ease that journey for them to buy as soon as possible. So with Bob, for instance, we would have to retarget several times. We would have to set up different type of messages, different type of videos to retarget him, let's say 2-3 times until he actually is convinced about the movie that he wants to see or buy. With Dave, we know that, say if Dave didn't buy yet, we will retarget once again, have a different message that is going to more resonate to his personality, and then it's going to buy. If he didn't buy so, but we see that he's highly engaged, then we can make an assumption that we've done all our best, that Dave has converted, even though he didn't buy. He's probably going to buy at the counter, or he's going to buy in the evening when he's at home and wants to watch at home in a different time than right now when we advertise. So we should exclude Dave completely from our campaign targeting. And so this is just an example to keep in mind that even though we have here one profile of like the males 44 years old, imagine that we are now communicating with a film to a different range of demographics. We should be distinguishing the audiences to from say 18 to 25, then from 26 to 35, they have different interests and lifestyle. From 36 to 45, or from 45 to 55, and again up to say 65. Each of these audiences should be distinguished into different segments, and each of these audiences are going to have different interests, and then based on their behavior, they're going to have different personalities. So we need to keep and map all of these segments into different clusters, into different groups. So it's not only based on the age, but also say gender or locations. So say some audiences from the capital city are going to have a different behavior from audiences that are coming from smaller cities. Gender, very much same. Younger females could have different behaviors from older females. And again, younger males could have different behaviors to older males. So when after the break, we'll be working on segmenting a different group of audiences. This is the first part to take into consideration. Segmenting different age, segmenting different group in terms of the personalities, and segmenting different behaviors. Here we have the context as well, that you can think about the audiences when you'll be working in the afternoon. We can think of what are the interests, the context that Bob and Dave are doing. What type of sport are they interested in? Lifestyle they have, music, genre, finances, gaming, interest in the movies, tech. Each of them can have different groups, right? Because we can have, say, cars. Both can be rather preferring locally produced brand, whereas Dave is going to go after say flashy international recognized brand, even with the cars. So let's say that I'm from Czech Republic, so as a Bob would go for Skoda cars, but Dave is going to go for Toyota, let's say, or Ford. So each of these guys are going to have different preferences in what type of products they're going to buy. But we can, if we keep in mind like all of these, we can actually shape quite well the type of creatives and messages and type of targeting we can run. So this is the context that we should keep in mind. The hobbies that they have, the lifestyle choices that they make, the taste and genre that they prefer, and activities that they like to do. In terms of demographics, we need to keep in mind gender, age, segmenting this into different ages, income, probably, if they have children or they not have children, because that's going to affect a lot in terms of which time is it that the audiences are going to be more prone towards watching the content or going to cinemas or watch at home. Education as well. Education is a lot important in terms of type of movies that we are trying to advertise to. Locations where they are, as I mentioned, location, capital cities audiences can have quite different behavior from smaller cities, because the people in the capital have the cinemas pretty much everywhere where they go, whereas in the smaller cities, they maybe have only 1 or 2 cinemas. And the interest in whatever it is actually in the film that we can distinguish as well. And here I wanted to show the example of different ads that we created in order for us then to start working on the practical exercise after the break. So I think that after we watch all of these, we can take a break. Yeah. So here's an example of an ad run in Poland. So it was probably sometime in summer last year when the film didn't have any nominations yet. So there's some kind of like message. We can tell that it is referring to pulp fiction and Cannes and the Palme d'Or. And this is the clip actually that was that we worked with in Poland. Yeah, so you see that there are basically no speakings at all whatsoever. There are only some cards with inserted text, but the whole trailer has been made actually without any talkings or any dubs, because the film actually was not dubbed, but only subtitles, but didn't have any speakings. Whereas, yeah, so this is another different ad that also is targeting quite a different group of audiences. So it can be only provocative to raise up some questions towards retargeting, say, some of the younger audiences that were engaged. This is a video or ad that was launched in Singapore, actually, to the audiences. And so here's the difference, that actually in Singapore, the audiences are used to Korean movies, right? So they're going to talk also different about the topic. So here that we see that the ad is really talking about the topic more of like the social and political top factor of the movie of that is going through from these two families. So yeah, so this is, we can tell it's much more an Asian-like. Yeah, so this is a copy that has been launched in Austria, which is, I think, referring here also again to Cannes, maybe. Yeah. Yeah, so I don't have it here, the Swedish one, for instance, but the Swedish one is completely still different from this. The Swedish one is actually, the speakings are happening in Korean with Swedish subtitles, excluding some cards. So for each of the territory, there were different videos used, depending on how they think, obviously, that the market is going to respond to this, but also because each of the release was happening in a different time of the year and a different time. So the territories that launched the film in, say, early summer after Cannes, they would have a lot of challenges because they didn't really have any nominations. But the Swedish campaign that got launched at the very end of the year after the Oscar nomination, then they could keep it basically in Korean, make it more even exciting actually for the audiences, knowing that this type of film won, and only add the cards emphasizing and stressing the awards from the different, the Oscar and the Golden Globes. So in each of the different territory, we modified the clips quite a lot by making them even shorter. That was the instance of the girly one in Poland. They were even the one focusing from a point of view on the child, the one focusing from the point of view on the main, the son character, the one focusing on the father character. So there were a lot of these different ads. I've showed here 4 instances from 4 territories, but I said, for instance, in one country, we set up 10 segment of audiences. Each of them had different, 10 different messages of videos, 3 different videos, 10 messages. And so I think that, say, in Poland, in the beginning, because it was so challenging, because it has like no buzz for the film, we set up a campaign that had 400 different type of ads. And so when you have 400 different type of ads, you can track them continuously on daily basis, how they're responding, and then turning them off on the go. And then, yeah, this one before as well, before actually we go on the break, I wanted to emphasize, this is another example that we did in Poland. It was Roman Polanski film that was released in December last year, An Officer and a Spy. The film was highly limited in terms of creative assets that we had available, because obviously the director is profound, and he's very dominant in terms of what he wants to release in creatives. And he wanted to have like all the assets very like made gold, male focus, because to him, say a different color would not resonate with the idea and the theme of the film. But when we launched the campaign, and because our hands were tied and limited to what we can create, we learned that audiences that are reacting to this campaign were mainly boys 18 plus and males say 25 plus. Yet we know that this is a very like a historical topic. It's from the French era, and the audiences that we were trying to target were mainly 35 plus audiences interested in politics, history, social, not only males, but also females. Because when the film got released in theaters, we knew that, especially in Poland, the women actually are the decision makers when it comes to like going to see the film, especially when it comes to arthouse films and arthouse theaters. So we needed to target those 25 plus women or 35 plus men, but we just couldn't with the campaign and it was very challenging. We tried to modify a lot of messages. We tried to edit like clips, but it just wouldn't work because audiences that were reacting to the campaign were still younger audiences. And even though when we enabled completely the younger audiences, the ads would get more expensive. Because the way how it works online is that the more audiences there are available, the cheaper it gets for ads. So the more audiences are reacting to your campaign, the cheaper the Facebook or Google is driving the ads down. The more narrow the audiences there are, the ads are becoming more expensive. The more narrow you set specific, or like you're forcing some specific ads towards audiences, the more expensive it is. Because Facebook doesn't want to show not interesting content to their audiences either, or Google. They really prefer as much of like highly interesting audiences to be served, content to be served for the audiences. So that's why this campaign would get more expensive, less relevant, and highly challenging in terms of the audiences we knew that we need to target, but we just had really hard time to reach. And that's the difference between this one or the Parasite one. Both of these campaigns had the same budget for online advertising. But with the Parasite one, we could create really 400 different type of ads. With this one, we were limited to like 2 different type of clips or 3 different type of clips, these particular specific messages, these particular specific images. So we're very limited in terms of what type of content we can present to the audiences. And as I explained before, we have these different segment of audiences of different ages, of different personalities, different interests and lifestyle choices. And so they would prefer to see different type of content for them to even acknowledge this content. That's the psychology that we try to understand, right? That the audiences need to see the purpose and the process of like, how is it and why is it? And so if they didn't acknowledge this film that would be relevant to them, then we wouldn't have much of the audiences that actually would prefer to, and would basically like to watch the film. And it was just a challenging type of campaign for us. Just one last piece, I guess, before we go on the break. This is another example that we ran. This is in Denmark. It was Kidnapping. This is it's a family movie, book adaptation, targeting kids as well as parents. Here are the examples of the two different videos that were clips in the beginning of the campaign that we launched. And you see here that one got 90% of the view rate, another 68% of the view rate, even though they were only different thumbnails. So the kids have different preferences as well. We don't actually necessarily need to know why, but if we can track that they prefer this video, then can I use the second video to retarget all the people that didn't finish watching the first video? So that's what we did. And then this is what we end up with the end of the click-through rate. Whoever didn't interact with our ads, we then would retarget again with the better video that we learned that the audiences prefer. So in the end, our click-through rate, even on the video view campaign, increased by 2%. So retargeting the audiences with the first two videos, to find the best performing one. And in the end, we ended up with the campaign of like almost 5% in terms of click-through rate. There were a lot of challenges with this campaign because kids have a very, very low attention span. We need to find the common grounds between the parents and kids, and also on social media and Google, the paid ads don't allow targeting users younger than 18, although we all know that younger audiences are there available on YouTube. There's so many kids sitting on YouTube. It's just that they are hidden behind the profiles of 18 years old. So we just needed to discover where are the hidden kids behind those parents' profiles. And then we needed to be careful in order to not alienate those kids, because if they can recognize that something is more branded and commercial, then they just don't like it. And so for us, we created an online competition via social media to engage with the audiences and to track how they are responding. We again set up different set of creative assets to accommodate different type of kids, and also parents. The assets for parents and kids also were different, and that's also very important for a lot of those family movies. And then we were focusing on overcoming the 5 seconds attention span, because for kids, and if you can't grasp their attention within the 5 seconds, they probably are not going to stay. So it's basically only recognized as an impression, but no action. And then we use Facebook to mainly target parents, Instagram, YouTube, Snapchat, and games apps, ads within games to target kids. And then we use different channels and keyword strategy to reveal where are the hidden kids. So if I'm targeting audiences that watch like Minecraft and like these type of videos, and if I'm telling YouTube, find for me those users that only like these type of children videos, obviously parents are not watching those videos. So if you have the specific type of content, you know that kids are following or doing, like different games, different keywords they are using, different channels they're following, that if we can target those, even though the profiles we're targeting are 18 plus, most likely behind those accounts are children. So this is for us right now to have. I think that we should have a break for,
It's noon. Yeah, it's 2 minutes past noon. We agreed on the.
Then the practical exercise starts, so I'll continue with that, but let's have the break now. So should we return back in half an hour?
Half an hour, we can return back at 12:35, let's say. We just had 2 questions on the way. Maybe we can start the second part with the questions, or I can just, the comments were that somebody wanted to know more about the real failure story. So like if you can point to some examples of that sort. And also if you can remember a really art house title, like really low budget, something that would be really typical art house, not, then maybe if you can come up with any examples during the break or something, you can refer to that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so we continue. That was really, the first part was really exciting. It was really a good warming up. So
a lot of theories.
a lot of, yeah, theories, but also it was easy to understand, and it's very insightful. Yeah, before we, and now it's actually up to you. We just had 2 questions that I mentioned before we left the first part. So you can either address it quickly before we continue, or you can refer to that on the way. It's up to you. Yeah.
Well, failure is definitely the case of Roman Polanski, then Officer and Spy, due to lack of creative assets, as I mentioned. That was a failure, but a big campaign. And then we had a failure, for instance, Monos. We did this in Greece. The thing is, we targeted, I think that with all the type of targeting and segment of audiences we targeted, I think that we didn't convert the audiences that say would be art house cinema goers, but we reach out to a lot of audiences interested in like refugee, political, social issues. And so a lot of these people, even though they were engaging with the campaign, they were highly talkative. They would be discussing in the discussion section on the ads. They would not necessarily go to see the film. So here's the kind of pros and cons, right? We engaged so many audiences with the campaign that were discussing about this, but then they would not turn up to the cinemas. Is it because these type of audiences just don't go to see the films in cinemas, like art house film? But then why would they be engaging with the campaign so much? That's a tricky question. And then our question was, would it be a better campaign or like better title release for a VOD release that people would watch this type of film at home? Or is it due to time of the year? Because a lot of time as well, say we work on the campaign during the summertime, it can have great engagement, but if the weather is good, people just are not going to turn up to the cinemas. That would be the case of, say, a lot of films in Denmark, right? So weather can be quite a big issue for releases and even for the campaigns that they would not actually convert. For a smaller campaigns, we work, for instance, on For Summer, which is the documentary made by the Lebanese, I think, director. It's a documentary film where they targeted a lot of audiences interested as well, again, in like, refugee topic, immigration, political, social issues. With this campaign, it did work out quite well in Czech Republic when we work on this, because if you talk and if you target audiences that are interested in refugee topics and political in Czech Republic, you are going after highly educated people, right? Interested in like documentary films. But when we did target this in Greece, because the film got released in Greece as well, where we work on, then we would be kind of engaging with the refugees themselves. And so the client, the distributor was like, it's great that we're increasing the awareness about the topic, but I don't know if these refugees are like in particular a group that is going to go to see the film, because unlike Czech Republic, where we targeted with these topics, highly educated individuals would go to see the film. But in Greece, even though we targeted with the same topic, I think that we managed to interact with the refugees themselves and those people as well that are right now in Greece, and they did not actually turn up to the cinemas either. So that can be tricky sometimes, that even though we're going after, say, very, very concrete topics that we think that work, with some movies, I think we should be going after really like core art house film fans. That even though it's a documentary, very educated content, other type of groups would not necessarily go to see the film.
Okay. And what is the kind of cost range of the campaigns? What would be like the cheapest campaign you would run and the most expensive one? Or the average value. I mean, you work in different countries with different markets. I know it's very difficult to say.
So we have to keep in mind that cost per advertising varies depending on the country. Czech Republic and Poland would be much cheaper than ads in the US or in Scandinavia, right? But the thing is, the more people interact with the campaign, the cheaper that gets. Say with the German films campaign, we run exactly the same campaign with exactly the same budget in Poland and in Scandinavia, in Denmark. And Danish campaign got much, much cheaper than Polish one, which is bizarre. Usually it's the other way around. So the better and the more effective your campaign is becoming, the cheaper actually it gets. So it's even in everyone's interest to get it as most targeted audiences as possible, because then it's going to go down even with the price. But in general, the budget range, say in the Czech Republic, when we run a campaign, they would be somewhere in between 2,000 up to 3,000 euros. Greece, the same, 2,000, 3,000. In Poland, because the market is much, much bigger in terms of like the size, it's there between 5,000 up to say 15,000 euros. Scandinavia is somewhere between 5,000 up to 10,000 euros. Even though it's a small size, like say Czech Republic and Denmark would be similar, but the budget there is it's much bigger because the ads are just more expensive. So with the smallest amount of the budget we're working with, usually on campaigns are around 2,000. And I think that with even 2,000, if it's available for a marketing campaign, I think with that one, like we can build up, or like anyone can build up quite a good like digital campaign.
Yeah, and it includes also Gruvi's service and
yeah.
the operational costs of the campaign itself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So, and if you think about it, really, like if you're investing in films, like a couple of €100,000, right, to make even a very small like indie film, European, to just like have 2,000, 3,000 of euros to spend on the marketing, that's really like a marginal amount of the total budget. We've only been facing that producers usually don't, save any budget because they just don't have access, because they're spending everything on the production. So they don't have such budget for marketing. A lot of European distributors that we work with, to be honest, have some kind of fundings from creative media or from whatever that they apply for fundings to actually distribute the movies. So I know that, say, when we work on German titles in Scandinavia or Czech Republic, distributors get the fundings actually from the German films guys, actually for, investing into distribution for the marketing spend. So yeah, but like budgets can vary from territory to territory. But example, really, like Denmark can get even cheaper than Poland in terms of cost if there's a lot of audiences that are responding. But in general, it depends on territories.
Okay, and how often? I guess you have much more clients in Scandinavia than in the Czech Republic, because this kind of digital campaigns are more common in the countries where internet penetration is bigger and people are more using the bank cards online.
Yeah, so we need to keep in mind as well the cost of online advertising, not only for the advertiser, but for the consumer, and where audiences are just more savvy. For instance, in Germany, we would not be running ads on mobile data at all. So we know that if we're targeting audiences on mobile, we only would be going for Wi-Fi, because in Germany, data are just really expensive for the audiences to pay. And it would take for them to load even the trailer. So if we work on the trailer campaign, on a video campaign, it would take them to load the video. And if it takes them to load the video, our landing page with the show times or with the video VOD options to watch would load as well slowly. It's just because the data are slow. So if you keep this in mind as well, like, are you able and willing to target both desktop and mobile, or would you only be going after mobile, depending on the audiences and type of content? And then, are you going after data, or can you include both data and Wi-Fi? If it's better to only keep it on Wi-Fi, then sure. Because what we've noticed that we started working on the VOD campaign lately, say a documentary film that gets released on Apple, Amazon, and other streaming platforms. And the traffic, the audiences that are seeing ads from desktop are converting higher. They would end up buying the film. But those guys that are on mobile, they would not buy straight away. Is it because it's just not convenient for them to buy or not? And maybe they would, maybe they are engaging with the content and they will return back later in the day to buy it on Apple. But then it's hard to track. If they don't convert straight away, then it's hard to track because they can return anytime later, go to iTunes, go to Amazon and buy that movie, right? So that's why with VOD releases, we started targeting mainly on Wi-Fi and desktop, because on mobile, it's good for awareness, but then they would not convert.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And there was just the last question. Have you ever actually worked with any film from Serbia or ex-Yugoslavia? At least I don't remember.
No, we work with...
Like Slovenian or Croatian as well, yeah.
Yeah, so we work with the Croatian, I think. And when Mirona, actually a former colleague of mine, she did bring in actually a couple of campaigns in Romania based. But to us, there's not much difference in terms of we haven't worked in that territory and we wouldn't understand that territory, because it's usually the producer, the distributor and exhibitors are giving a brief in terms of what are the audiences that they are after, and we try to search them. And then when we set up the campaign, it's more on the principles of understanding the data, like how audiences react, how they're responding, understand their behavior, in order to check those profile and behavior to find those custom lookalikes audiences in order to run the retargeting. So the principles are more based on the data and audiences behavior, rather than that the market might be different. So it's always a close collaboration with the distributors and producers. So that's why we're going to go in this part of the talk. We are going to do some more practical exercises, so everyone can try to set up some of the audiences, segment audiences, because this is how it works in the practicalities. We get a brief, say from a distributor, that there's this campaign, that they have this certain budget and they're after these type of audiences. And they name seriously what type of audiences they're after. And then we try to search, where do these audiences sit? How old they are, how many of them are available for them. But it's usually the distributor that's giving us a brief about the audiences that they want to target, because it's usually that they know the market the best. And then when we launch the campaign, then we're tracking like the behaviors and the data, how they're responding. So it's more of the data and analytics once the campaign has been launched. But the creatives, we can feedback to the distributor and tell, say, this type of message is just not working, this type of message is working the best, this video is working, this video is not working the best, but it's usually the distributor that is working with all of these assets. We only give them a feedback and data, and because they also get access to analytics dashboard with results from the campaign, so they can see which videos are working or not, and then they're modifying basically their videos. I think I can try to pull up one of the dashboard for a normal campaign. Yeah, so I'll share my screen again. Can you see it now? Yeah, so for instance, can you see it?
Yeah, you shared it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. On movie that was premiered in Berlin, I think this year or last year, I don't know. They basically get an access to different sites, type of audiences we set up for the campaign, impressions, actions, watch, link clicks, click-through rate, link, etc. And then in the creative section, they basically get a grip of how creative asset is performing, how each of the message is performing. Yeah, just loading because there's a lot of data, because this campaign has already recommended. So we've got just like a huge number of information gathered. Well, I can get back to this later. If there's no other questions, then maybe we can jump on just the audience calculator.
I have a question. You said that the total budget, the lowest budget that you worked with was 2,000. Does that include your services, or is just the budget that you work with on social media?
Yeah, that includes our services. So we were charged for the landing page, which is basically, say for instance, we would build like this landing page. This is something that appears on the mobile, as I was mentioning. It geolocates wherever you are, shows the show times, or shows the available VOD options, and it fetches and loads under the video on social media. So then we track whatever is happening with what users are doing on with the page, where are they clicking, etc. So we basically charge for this landing page at operation fee based on the budget for setting up the campaign, and then the reporting. So usually these are fixed based on a number of budget, but the minimum that we usually start is the 2,000. So here, for instance, we've got a video on the charlatan one, 30 second, 15 second, they called it like targeting old people. Then a different video, 15-second targeting young people, different 30-second video. So we have different type of videos here. We have these type of videos, basically they named them. I don't know what they are exactly. And so we can see here different impressions, obviously, that we could buy for these videos. And video watches at 75%. That means that the videos that the people have almost completed watching the video until the end. Link clicks generated from each of the videos. So surprisingly, here again, right, we have a video that generated here 1,000 clicks, but it only had 76,000 impressions. For the same amount of clicks, this one, say this 30-second video, had more impressions, but didn't even generate that many clicks. And then you can follow the same post reactions, comments, and shares in order to understand the attractiveness of these videos. Not all the videos are supplied all at once. It's usually the distributor. Oftentimes, even they go back to the producers and are asking them, can you make a new video for us, like featuring this and that, because we think it's working the best. When we work with producers, then even when the film is in production, we would take some of the videos, like sequences from the clips or like from the footages that they've made already, the film, then we would go online to test them in order to understand how audiences are reacting to these different clips, in order to know maybe they should include this for the trailer, or they should create these different type of clips, short clips, at least for different segment of audiences. So if you do testing already in the production stage, then you can be prepared and offer like the best materials as well for the distributors or for the exhibitors when the film is released. And so these videos that I remember that these ones, they only were launched on the 5th of October, right? And these were launched on the 2nd of September. So you see that with some videos, we even launched a month after, actually, depending on how we're seeing that they are reacting and audiences are reacting and how each video is getting responses. And then here, basically, you are previews to these videos. What the distributors can do is they can go there directly to engage with the audiences. So if I click here on this video, then I see basically this is the ad. And here's what people got to say about this and what happened with them. So there are like plenty of the videos. There are actually 42 pages of videos, and each page has, I don't know, quite a lot of videos. So you see here that there are probably like hundreds of ads actually set up with this one single campaign. And then here's basically the same with for Instagram. On YouTube, we didn't actually get to the YouTube yet, but we'll get to that one later. So I'll go back to this. Is there any other question? or if there is not, then this is what I wanted actually to show to everyone, that this is a tool that we built and it's for free. It's called the Audience Calculator or Audience Calculator. You can find it also on Gruvi website. And it allows you to search for available audiences for targeting online. We are basically collecting all of this data from social media. And it can gives you an insight to available sizes of these audiences, targeting options, and the demographics. So say I want to go with Serbia. I could also go with specific cities if I want, in order to understand a number of people in those cities that I want to find out. But I'll just go here for now with the country. I want to say find James Bond. I'm interested also in Sean Connery, for instance, and David Fincher, for instance. And all of this with action film. So I want all of these people that like James Bond, Sean Connery, and David Fincher, and at the same time action film. How many people are there available? 28,000. If I just want anyone who likes James Bond, or anyone who likes Sean Connery, or anyone who likes David Fincher, how many of those are here? Then we have this amount of people. And then we can divide it based on age. So I can go with 19. Divide it as down as possible so we can understand the sizes per each of these segments. Okay, so I've got that result. And here we can see specific audiences, females, males, per these audience segments. So we see here that most audiences are males, predominantly, and they are 26 to 35. So if I know that there is 26 to 35 audiences and mainly males, I think I would go for YouTube, mainly focus on targeting. But because we also have like females and males in general here, so maybe we should go for YouTube and Facebook. This is just to get some kind of a very rough idea in the beginning, like where we should be focusing with our campaign. You see here the number of these audiences per age. We can have it break down in the cities as well. So if you have the cities, we would show different amount of audiences per those cities. So this is just an example to see how the audience calculator works in order for them, for anyone, for the distributors to understand, say that this is the amount of people we have per this type of audience segment, and we would need, say, this much of budget available for targeting. Because the thing is, we have here now 36,000 people, right, that we want to target. In order to target 36,000 people, we need a certain amount. I would say, let's say, 300 euros to target all of these people. Because if I don't have the 300 euros, I would, and say I have only 100 euro, then I will be able to target only 10,000 people of this. So this is how it works on the principles in the beginning, because there are quite a lot of audiences that are available for the film, but the more you break down the audiences, the more then you can allocate precisely your budget. If you keep like the targeting very, very broad, like all audiences, let's say here, that like action films, we've got 1 million here, people. In order for you guys to target 1 million, you would probably like need 5,000 euros to target all of these 1 million people, to just reach them. But the thing is, as we said, it's not only easy to reach those people, we should be retargeting them several times to build a relationship. So we would like the frequency of how many ads should be, how many times the ads should be appearing, say 3 up to 4 times. So in order to show the ads 3 up to 4 times, we would have to multiple also our budget, right? So that's why it's better to have some segments of audiences, obviously, that are broader, but also some audiences that are also very precise. So we can reach them within our, let's say, limited budget. You can have action film and then go very precise down. You want action film with all people that like action film, but at the same time, James Bond. So you get giving like a condition, very a precise condition. So that would be only that amount of people. But if you don't care, then you give all. So it's anyone who likes action film. At the same time, maybe anyone who likes James Bond film as well. So these are the conditions of and or in the calculator. And once you've set up different conditions here, then you go for the results, you see this. You can create the share link, copy it, and then save it for later on and say, share this with whoever you're working with on the campaign, whether this be, you know, an agency that is working with you, or a freelancer that is helping you with the campaign, or Gruvi. Then you can share as well, like these, what do you think and suggesting would be the best, or making those suggestions. And then we basically sit down and look at these audiences and revert back to the clients, distributors. Look, so we've got here 1.5 million people. We have different tech segment of audiences. That's why we think that we would need for this campaign, in order to reach 10% of these audiences, at least say 2,000 euros. So this is how we create the plan. And this is going to be the part where I would like everyone to sit down and to create some segments of audiences for the movie that we selected here. Some of you probably may know the movie, some not, but it's a very quirky, it's an arthouse horror movie made by A24, which is a company that does quite good movies in general, independent arthouse distribution and production company based in the US. So we'll watch the trailer, and then here are questions that we would like everyone, like I would like to work on with you guys. Who is going to watch this film? What is the audience interest? What does this audience like? How old is this audience? Not only one audience, like we're still remembering that we're creating those different segments, right, of audiences in different groups. And when you have these groups, you can cluster them here, like say action films and James Bond. And then you can have art house films, Cannes Film Festival, David Fincher. So you can create these different segments, go to this calculator, create these different segmentations, RIA calculator, and then save the links so we can go back to those. But here are all the questions in order to answer when we have those segments, or to find those segments. Who is going to watch this film? What is this audience interest? What they're doing? How old is this audience? How this audience communicates? Where are they? And how to reach them? So we'll watch now a trailer. And then after the trailer, we would like to break down into different groups of, say, in a group of 3 or 4 people max. And then the group will be working together on this, creating these different segment of audiences, not only by age, gender, but also with these different interests that they have, in order to answer all of these questions, to create some kind of hypothesis on who would and how would we launch the campaign to market midsummer. So this is the trailer.
Just remember to put the sound on. Yeah. Yeah. We can't hear.
Can you hear? Can you not hear?
I cannot hear, at least. I don't know how.
You're using headphones, that's why we can't hear.
Oh, okay. Okay, then how about I send it to the chat now? And or maybe I'll just take down my headphones.
Yeah, or you just take, yeah, that's what I wanted to suggest. I think it's more practical, yeah.
I told you that I want to go to that festival in Sweden.
No, you said it would be cool to go.
Yeah, and then I got the opportunity and I decided to do it.
I don't mind you going. I just wish you would have told me. That's all.
Dude, she needs a therapist. You've been wanting out of this stupid relationship for like a year now.
And don't forget about all of the beautiful Swedish women you meet in June.
Okay, guys.
That's not her again. Seriously?
Babe, what's happening? Danny.
I was so very sorry to hear about what happened.
I'm sorry.
I invited Danny to come to Sweden.
You know what she's been going through?
Christian says you've got this special week planned.
It's sort of a crazy festival. Special ceremonies and dressing up.
That sounds fun.
Unbelievable.
Welcome and happy midsummer. Skål!
What time is it?
9 p.m.
That can't be right. The sky is blue.
This is what 9 p.m. is like here.
How long have you two been together?
Just over 3.5 years.
4 years.
Really?
Yeah?
What do you think?
It's like another world.
Tomorrow's a big day.
Is it scary?
What is it?
It has special properties.
What am I going through?
We just need to acclimate.
I don't want to acclimate. I want to go.
Absolutely not.
What's happening?
I don't know why you invited us.
That's why you look so guilty right now, because you know.
We only do this every 90 years. I was most excited for you to come.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah. So this is basically an independent art house horror movie that tells the story. The main character's parents, they in the beginning of the film committed suicide and they die, and she's going through this suffering of like that they killed themselves with her siblings, so now she's an orphan, like she's by herself, and then she has this group of friends and her boyfriend from her boyfriend, and they're traveling to Sweden to visit and attend this midsummer festival, and that's what actually you saw in the trailer. So for where is it? For this movie, there are quite actually a lot of interesting segments of audiences that we work with in the campaign. And we also work on this campaign across different territories. So I also have already results in terms of what audiences work the best, how they responded during the campaign. But I would like now us to break into different groups to work with the audience calculator to find out what type of audiences would like to watch this type of film, where possible they are based on the demographics that we'll be able to find out on via the audience calculator. And then based on the results on segment of audiences, we'll then carry on with suggesting different social media channels that we would launch for the campaign. But to start with, could we then break down into different groups?
Yeah, I will break people down. Yeah, I already prepared everything. I just wanted to ask people, maybe they can take with their phone the picture of the questions, take it with themselves. Can you just put back the, do you all have smartphones that you can just take photo? Because while you are in the groups, you will not, I'm not sure if you will have access to the main screen, so that you can just remember what you are supposed to discuss with each other within the group. Yeah, and then how much time would you like to give them, right?
Let's see, 20 minutes.
20 minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
And then I will let you walk through the group so you can talk individually with every group, right? So
yeah.
So I can let you. We have 4 groups, so I can let you be for 5 minutes in each group with the participants.
So
themselves.
the website is audiencecalculator.com. You go there and then try to segment, really create different interest segment of audiences that you think would be working for this campaign. Keep in mind what we were talking about, this different group of age, interest, context, lifestyle, education, political views, like all of these, and create different segment of audiences. What do you think would be working for these audiences? And then when we resume back, we'll share these results and pitch of the different ideas. And then I will share with you guys what are the audiences that we set up for the campaign and what were the responses and what worked actually.
We know, actually Nguyet knows what worked with this film. This was a very challenging film to distribute in the beginning, but then they created some strategy that probably generated some failures and some successes. So it would be nice to gather your ideas and then compare them with what actually worked and didn't work in reality. So just for yourself to check if you think in the right way with the particular type of film. Yeah, and this is just a small exercise that you can apply for any film if you find it inspiring enough, for any film from your catalog and or for your portfolio. So if I would ask somebody from group 1, which was Alexandra, Katarina, and Eva, if they can, just give us a brief overview of what they concluded regarding the audience, potential audience of Midsummer.
If you have a link still to those audiences via the calculator, you can share your screen to share the links with us. Maybe, or if you just want to talk through, you can talk through as well, up to you.
Just
I would like to, I would like to share the screen just to.
Okay, that's perfect.
To see how it's going, should be this. Is it?
Yeah, we see it.
Right? Yeah, we did have some problems with the main targeting groups, actually, not groups, not ages, but when it's about targets, except horror films and the university. Actually, we wanted to put their high school, but we couldn't find the exact tools for that. So this is what we got, but we're not proud of it, definitely. So it's horror films. It's age range, as you can see it. You can see it, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so we got the total reach of 73,000. Actually, let me just show you this. 1 second. Results, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we got the results that the main target should be on the female male between 25 34 years.
Yep. Yeah, looks great.
Everything, but like I said, I think we are missing main target words for this. Definitely.
Yeah. So this would be like one segment, right?
We got familiar with the Gruvi tool.
Yes. Okay.
And thank you for that.
Great. Sounds good. Group 2.
Group 2 is Ivana, Martina, and Mira.
Maybe can you Eva, share the link? Just copy the link and share it in the chat to everyone. When you have it copied, you can stop screen share and then share the chat. Share the link in the chat. Yeah.
There it is.
Okay, and the group 2 is Ivana, Martina, and Mira. So do we have anyone willing to speak from that group? No?
I think that Martina is trying to speak, but she's muted.
Martina is muted, yeah. She's figuring out, I think, how to unmute herself. Actually, I can unmute her.
Yeah.
Okay. Hello. I just want to share my screen and you can see my results. Just a moment. Do you see it?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I just target Serbia and horror films, psychological horror, horror fiction. So each range was, I begin with 16.
Yes.
16. But we don't have results for 16 to 19 years. You can see. This result, we can say that Serbia isn't horror lovers.
Well, we can see here definitely that females are the majority, right? For the sections of how we chose here, horror film, psychological horror, and horror fiction, only females and mainly younger females.
Yeah,
you can tell. There are no available like 35 to 45 audiences.
So I need to target some other words.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. But this is great too. Yeah, this is great. Can you also copy the link and share it with us in the chat?
Yes. Okay.
You have to go down. There is like click to share the link. Down below the page.
Okay, just a moment. Okay. How to stop share? Okay.
Okay, we can go for group 3.
And then the group 3 can prepare. It's Slobodan, Mara, and Maria. Any volunteer from that group to?
I guess I'll go.
Okay, that's Mara, right?
Maria.
Maria. Okay, sorry, Maria.
It's okay.
Yeah. The floor is yours.
Share my screen. Well, we basically did what the others did. We tried with different age ranges, which we thought would be most interested in watching horror films. And we went with a horror film, drama film, art film, independent, and foreign language, which was a big game change because when we entered foreign language, we went from almost 50,000 people to 6,500 people. And with the different age range, this is what it looks like.
Yeah.
Well, we basically
so here
we know that females are those that want to go to cinemas, and they are the ones that initiate cinema going mostly. Well, what we know here. So this is like we would go with the 18 to 25, maybe 18 to 35 would be the best group to target with us.
Yeah, this is great too. What I would only change is that instead of like say horror films and drama films and art film independent, maybe we could have horror films and drama films or art film or independent film or foreign language. So we're targeting all fans of horror films that are at the same time drama interested or art house interested or independent interested or foreign language interested. If you make the change now, I think that we're going to increase that number significantly. Could you try to change it now in the target options? If you try to edit the target now.
Target is not numbered yet.
Yeah.
So you want me to, okay, I'll just move this again. You want me to take the art out?
No. Keep everything, but instead of and, have horror films and the rest or.
And how do you?
Now just erase the drama films, erase art film, erase independent film, and erase foreign film.
Okay.
Yes, and now click art film, find art film.
Oh, so I click or.
No, click and now, click and first. And so erase the first art film, yeah. And then drama film, find drama film and click all. Yes, and then what did we have there? Yeah, foreign language. At or. And yeah, let's find out the size now. Yeah, independent film as well.
So and now it's 28,400.
Exactly, exactly.
So, okay, so this increases by a lot.
Yes, because we want to target all the people that like horror films.
Okay.
And at the same time, they could like art house film, they could like independent film, they could like foreign language, they could like drama films. And so we're giving it more options to the size or the group of audiences we are able to put in the condition for the targeting. So we're increasing an option in the group, because if you have a condition of and, that means that this person has to like horror film and at the same time art film and at the same time speak the foreign language. Great. And at the same time drama film. So if we have the or options here, we increase the reach, because we give them an option to like horror films and maybe art house or drama or foreign language. Is it clear? I don't know if I'm making it clear. Yeah. Yeah.
I have to object to this. This is then, there is a possibility of manipulation, because if I use or instead of and, I definitely would increase the number of the audience. And if I, as a producer, suggest that to my distributor, it would be unrealistic to expect even 50,000 for this movie in Serbia. You understand? But no, I'm targeting 280 people, increasing revenue or cost for companies like yours or others. So this is very manipulative in a funny sense. Am I right?
No. So the thing is, if you're not having a big pool of audiences to target, you're limiting a chance of even reaching out to those audiences, right? It's the same like, say, if I can target, say, 20,000 people, most likely, if a very, very higher chance, if 10% people, like it's a conversion, right, of those, then a couple of thousand people will only go to see the film. So if you're not reaching out even to enough audiences, who is actually that you're marketing the film to? You have to market the film to a quite sizable or like a relevant group of audiences. Let's just create some groups that is just relevant to target to a bunch of them, in order to find out who are the audiences that would be interested in. Because if we don't have the available groups, then it's actually who are we talking to with the film? Because this is, I'm going to share now my screen to share with you guys the audiences, like here we suggested here, right? So for instance, this would be one of our segment of group of audiences. We have Serbia, we have contemporary art, art museums, visual arts. It's so random, it's quite big. It's basically audiences interested in rather like art rather than film, right? And we have 1 million of people here targeting. Even though we have a budget that would be very limited, let's say 200 euros. With the 200 euros, when we target them, some of those people are going to start interacting. Not 1 million, say 1,000 people only will be starting to interact with the campaign. But at least I collect those 1,000 people, right? So when I have a pool of 1,000 people, I'll understand who are those 1,000 people and who are they like, what are their interests, in order to collect the audiences. So this is just an example of like one segment. This is broad, it's quite far-fetched, but it's still there. Then I have here a second group, again, Serbia, people that like went to film school, like art film, like Cannes Film Festival, Berlinale, Venice, Academy Award. So I'm targeting basically people really from the film industry. And I have here 4,000 people, again, 400,000 people. Obviously, I'm not going to target all 400,000 people because my budget is limited. But if even 10% out of 400,000 people are going to interact with the campaign, that's enough. That's some audiences, at least, that are going to get aware of the film. So we have here these audiences just available. Then we have, say, people interested in Sweden, Scandinavia, and at the same time are journalists. So we can target, so here we can see that the age is quite increasing already, mainly females. And again, we have 100,000 people here. Even though the budget is limited, I'm not going to reach with the campaign all 100,000 people. Even the limited budget is going to allow me to target to some people from this target group. And if they interact, I'll be able to collect those audiences already and understand where they're coming from. Then we have here another group. This is basically based on following the main character, which is the female, the main, I think her name is Eva. She's going through like a trauma, but in the film, we can see that she's empowering a character. The character is really like becoming, overcoming like all the challenges during the festival. So we have here also targeting feminism, like all the people following feminism, girl power, feminist movement, feminist theory. So it could be far-fetched, but I'm having some hypotheses here only that we could try to reach those people and see how they react. Maybe they're not going to respond at all. Then in case we completely turn that segment off, but we have to try to target some people. If we don't try to target some people or like these people, then who are we going to target actually? So we have to make some kind of predictions. It's the same with, say, for these guys. So we have here people interested in folklore, cultural anthropology, anthropology itself, tradition, sociology, sustainability, sustainable agriculture. Because to that, the whole midsummer, like if you guys had like more chance to read through what the film is about, it's about this like festival in Scandinavia. And the students are like anthropologists. They are trying to understand what is this festival about? What's the tradition about? And also, if you look at the visuals of this, I think they could be very close that people who really are interested in like these type of things, if they see the clips that they're celebrating some kind of like festival, and most likely the people who are interested in anthropology and sociology are also highly educated, right? So if they see this type of clips and they could be like, wow, okay, this is something new. I don't know about this topic. And they could get engaged. It's not that we're going to reach all of them here, really, there's 1 million, but we're giving a chance to test out this group to see how many people from this group are going to interact with our campaign. Then we have here, this is the closest to what everyone was suggesting, horror films, mystery films, art film, cult film. We could definitely have here the psychological horror that would be even more precise, like one of the group that created. We have here 100,000 people. And again, here we have like younger audiences. But if we go here to these, we probably have quite like here allocated proportionately. There is quite some older females audiences, but overall mainly female audiences. Here we have, again, female audiences. In the feminism, that's obviously. In the journalism, we have mainly older audiences, but we have some males dominated here, but still females. So this film is clearly very the audiences that we are after are clearly mainly females, right? So we know that already. We're talking here mainly to females. So if you as a producer, you are working on this, you know that you should be making the materials so the females are also interested in the film. Not only that it's horror, but also can you talk and create something that is going to resonate with females? The females that like these type of topics, the females that like these type of topics, females that like these type of topics. And then last group, I think we have here, this is just to give a random example. This is just so out and far-fetched, but we have here witchcraft. And we don't know how these people are going to react. Each of the groups are somewhere in the region of like 100,000 people, 200,000 people. But this is going to give us an option right, let's try to show ads to those people. Obviously, our budget is not going to allow to target all of them, but if we can have a small budget to target them, we can understand how many of those people are going to be interested in. If they are interested in, we start collecting them as well. If they engage with the video, if they engage in the discussion comment, if they engage by clicking, checking where are the venues, where are the show times, we basically start tracking all of these audiences. So we would get to understand who are the audiences that would be really more likely to watch the film. I have here a report from the campaign in Poland and in Austria. I will try to zoom. Okay, so here we see that mainly females interacted with the campaign.
So, Nguyet, we still see Serbia. We still see your results for Serbia.
Yeah, okay.
You were supposed to show us Polish, right? Yeah, Polish results.
Oh, here. Here.
Ah, yeah, now we see. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is the report from the campaign itself. So here we see that females interacted the most with the campaign, a little bit of males as well. So this kind of really validates the segments of audiences we set up for the campaign, kind of like matches also with the audiences that reacted to the campaign, mainly females. But this is quite a surprising, right? Because we thought that there's so many people, so like a lot of people would think that horror films would only be for younger audiences. Yet the 18 to 24 are the smallest chunk of the pie here. The majority of the audiences that would be the most interested in the film were 65 plus, 45 to 55, and 55 to 65. So let's say about 60, 70% of all the audiences interested in this film, engaging with the trailer, were actually older audiences. Why is that? It's because really the audiences that so we set up for the campaign all of these segments that I just shared with you guys, right? And then we are basically collecting all of the audiences that were engaging with the venues. So mainly they were older females interested in journalism, older females interested in art house film, older females interested in feminism, Scandinavia, agriculture, anthropology. If we think about this, we would think that these segments of audiences would be really dominant with the older females. And so that kind of corresponded. They were also a few percentage of these groups, a few individuals from this group would then engage with our campaign. And the more they engage with our campaign, the more we started collecting the data. So we basically create those lookalikes based on page views, lookalikes based on showtimes interactions. And so when we did the lookalikes, we didn't care who we want to target age-wise. We were just telling, find for me people and show them the trailer, and find all the people that have similar interests, like those guys who investigated the showtimes, who paged the view, who viewed the trailer. And so Facebook and Google would be finding for us those people. And as they were finding for us those people, they were finding actually older people, because the people that interacted with our campaign were older. So we didn't limit the campaign to specific age, that we thought that these audiences should be fitting with this age, but the older audiences were actually interested in the film, because it's the whole anthropology, sustainability, agriculture, kind of like the festivals, the kind of like mystery in Sweden. So it kind of fitted with the older females audiences. So that we have from the campaign in Poland. We also have the report from the campaign in Austria. Again, here we have slightly quite different audiences. So in Austria, the market is much smaller. We had also much smaller budget. So we were able to reach only smaller audiences. Although we set up pretty much the same segments, the budget would be reaching out to smaller audiences. But then we see that in Austria, the audiences reacting to the campaign were slightly younger. They were still not young. So we still, the 18 to 24 is still a very small chunk from the pie, but the most engaging audiences would be 35 up to 55. So they are actually quite older as well. And what we did is also we set up those lookalikes based on profiles of those who interacted with the showtimes, theater go venues, and we reach out to those people. We increase here the click-through rate as well, but again, people interacting with those venues and theaters were mainly the females and older age. I'll see if there's anything interesting here more from the report to show. Yeah, there are just different copies and ads. You see here different type of just different copies. We set up so many copies to test out just different group of audiences because they can be interested in horror, but they can be interested in this anthropology, agriculture, etc.
Nguyet, can I ask you a question? If I give you a Serbian film example, could you give us example how would you treat it in Denmark?
Yeah,
I'm interested in selling my film to Denmark. So what kind of results you can give me? What kind of a strategy I can build based on your experience?
Of course, so we can research a lot in terms of what are available audiences in different countries. I'll still get to that in the presentation, but we can never know, if the film is going to fail or success. It's once we launch the campaign, we'll get an idea because then we follow how the audiences are responding to the campaign. So if they respond very well with the campaign, then we think that, and it's looking promising, then we can predict that the film is going to do well. If the response of the audiences are miserable during the campaign, then we think that the film is going to fail. So we can only start predicting its failure or success once we launch the campaign and get an understanding of the audience responses to the content. Of course, before the film gets launched or it's open in cinemas, but until we launch the campaign, we actually can't tell if the film is going to be a good or not.
But first, you will have to get Danish distributor, either VOD or theatrical. Yeah, because without them, it would be impossible to make the films available. And I think that's the biggest problem with foreign language films in Europe. It's not the fact that there is audience. I mean, there is a lot of diaspora, for example, ex-Yugoslav diaspora in Denmark. They would love to watch Serbian films, but no distributor or no VOD platform want to show them. And that's like a structural problem, political problem. It's not audience problem. And it's not just about Serbian movies, it's about Lithuanian movies, Polish movies, whatever. Yeah. In Denmark specifically, but in most of the European countries. Yeah, but we need to finish by 3 o'clock because of the schedule of other events. So just to make you sure, Nguyet and other participants, so that we can structure the next 45 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, so you guys just let me know when we can continue.
Yeah, you can. I think it's okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so just to recap.
Yeah,
just to recap on these audiences on the Midsummer. So you've had a chance to try out the audience calculator, but this is to give you an idea of how we think would be good to map out different segment of audiences. We have here a group of the contemporary art, visual art, we have the art house films, film school, we have feminism, we have folklore, anthropology, we have witchcraft, we have psychological horror and genre films. So these are different segments of audiences that you can find via this calculator. If you can find it there, that means that you have an option to target it on Facebook or Google. If you can't find it there, then there's no way to target those people there. Because our data are coming, or the results of the targeting are coming from those targeting options from the social media. And then you see available really demographics of the audiences you're targeting there. Once you've got these ideas of how many audiences are there mainly females, how old are they, and etc., then you know and have an idea of like maybe how you should be shaping your messages and videos that you should be you would like to target them. And so for us, we were looking really at the different elements of the film. As I already mentioned, the feminism, strong female lead in the film. Eva really represent that the freedom of revenge that she's coming out of the movie, and self-growth. And so maybe the question is, would it be worth to target also LGBT or coming of age? Because these type of audiences are also growing, or like their characters, the film character is growing. So would it make sense to target this group of audiences that like these type of films as well? Then we have the folklore, cult, art house, and like everything that we already mentioned. Like these are the elements that we were looking while watching at the trailer, while reading through the synopsis, in order to identify the killer elements that we could try for the targeting. The biggest challenges that came with this campaign is that it's a horror movie, and oftentimes on social media, horror movies would be the most difficult to market actually, because they are violent and they violate like policies, advertising policies of Google and Facebook and YouTube. So you need to think about this as well. And remember, we had back maybe a year ago, 2 years ago, the house that Jack built. It's a Lars von Trier actually movie, and it's very, very violent. It's like bloody. And that campaign got launched prior to Christmas. And it just went like crazy on social media. Everything would be taken down. And the distributors were very slow at responding to this because it was Christmas time. And so we really need to think about how the social media are also going to be accepting your creative assets. It shouldn't be showing anything violent and like nudity. It shouldn't be marketing any, cigarettes, drugs, guns. If it even depicts any of this, they're going to take it down. So you have to think about this when you create also the trailers, that it shouldn't be showing any of these, the elements that would violate the policy for advertising. Also, political movies are oftentimes challenged by the bans these days, by social media. Also, messages that are referring to like religion. So all of these are very controversial. So you need to keep this in mind while creating those assets. And then, once we've got like obviously these elements and these audiences, that we would be questioning how to communicate to these audiences. What are they interested in and what are their characteristics? Once we've got that, then we start creating these different messages, like those ad copies, we create those videos. And here are the channels that we would be recommending, say, for a digital, like a proper digital campaign. We'll include Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat. Obviously, Twitter and Snapchat are not probably that big in Serbia, so it will be mainly Facebook and Instagram. YouTube and video pre-rolls. YouTube is obviously, it's heavily followed. Video pre-rolls are basically the pre-rolls that jump in front of the videos that you're watching on different type of sites. Let's say there's a video on Variety or Guardian. If you start watching the video, there's a video prior to that jumping. So those are called video pre-rolls. So you have video pre-rolls, you have YouTube, then you have Google search. So Google search ads are the ones that say, if you search for specific keywords on Google, Google will pick this up and then show you the ad that is related to it. So if I'm searching for, let's say, thriller films to watch now at home, then Google search, if my campaign is having Google search and I've included this target, then say Midsummer would be popping up to those people then on Google. And then Reddit and Quora blogs. These are not so much heavily focused if it's not a quirky films. We do use a lot Reddit though, in some territories for like quirky titles like Parasite or Midsummer. And then we have programmatic display banners. Banners are the ones, the little square ads that you see, say exactly when you go to the site like Variety or The Guardians. Those ads are being usually used for retargeting. So say we launched the campaign on Facebook and YouTube and Instagram 3 weeks, 4 weeks prior to the release. And then just right on the release week, we would launch those display banners and retarget the people who visited or interacted with the venues, or who tried to search for specific similar films. If you're a cinema, then exactly, you can retarget with display banners all the users that came to visit your site. So it's following the e-commerce strategy, pretty much. You wanted to buy the shoes are following you wherever you go. So the banners are following the users wherever they go, but obviously also, again, keep in mind, we should be excluding those that have already bought. And then here are the types of messages and campaigns that you should think of when setting up the campaign. So there are different types of campaigns on Facebook or on Instagram we can have. They can be provocative. They can, invoke some kind of like experiences or share experiences, or encourage the audiences to take an experience or discover. They can be more of like support the brand and join the brand, or share your opinion. So there are different types of motivations in the campaigns, and you should be following these motivations and objectives of the campaigns in order to create the funnel strategy and the goal. So based on motivations, we have to identify the goal, right? So if I want to create a provocative message, then I know that we're after like engagement. Like if I want to engage audiences, let's go for those provocative messages. If we want people to come to buy, then let's go for the experience that they should experience or they should learn more. If we want them to sign up, then let's go with a message of support our brand. So these needs to be like, these two needs to always work together based on whatever it's your objective and motivation. You create a type of messages. And yeah, this is just a handful example of like how it can be done. By provocative, it can be a message, say, do you think that you know, I don't know, Serbian movies? You don't know. There's this new movie that is talks blah, blah, blah about this. So you make a little bit of more provocative, so the audiences are engaging and maybe corresponding in the discussion channel. Or an experience, really tell them this is a great art house film, awarded at Cannes, that they can watch this. Or if it's like to support the brand, then you can more engage with like cinemas are now in a lockdown, join to support like these cinemas. So really it's so important to distinguish different type of objectives in order to create those messages, because the messages that they're going to convey to the people are going to make them to buy or not. So it's not only about the creatives, like the video assets and images, but also those messages. So here are just the examples of different types of messages following their objectives. Sorry. Yeah, this is just an example how one of our ads look like. It's a good example. A lot of the traffic coming these, say for theatrical release, a lot of the traffic is coming now from mobile. So if users are watching videos on mobile, you also want to have the sizes of the videos to be fitting with the mobile nicely. So this is a format that is quite attractive these days for distributors actually, or producers to produce or make, even for cinemas if they want to promote films. Usually it used to be, say, 16:9, but this is like 4:5, I think. It's just a different ratio of the format to think about as well, depending on the type of audiences or type of channel you're going after. So this is, say, on Facebook mobile. If you're advertising on desktop, then you want to have a rather like the wider video, right? So think about these different options as well when you're creating those assets. On Facebook, we should be starting with the video views campaign and engagement campaign in the first, say, 3 weeks of the campaign. That would be 3-4 weeks prior to the release date. We should go really with the exposing the video trailers for people to really watch it as much as possible, to get engaged with the topic, to get attracted to the film. When we basically launch that video view campaign and engagement, we're going to get a certain number of people also trying to search for more information. If they take action to search for these more information. That's the point when you start collecting and analyzing which are the audiences and segments that are showing the interest in the film. That could be the potential buyer. And then once you've got this information, then you start creating those custom lookalikes. You collect these audiences in order to retarget them when the films comes closer to the release. So then we have two campaigns, and they are called conversions and traffic. On Facebook and Instagram, they are literally called like this. So you have a video view campaign that you can set up. So we are going after like eyes, people to watch videos. Then you have traffic campaign. When you set up a traffic campaign on Facebook, those are the people that you're trying to bring to your landing page, say to the cinema site, to the VOD site, to the landing page of the movie. And then a conversion campaign is the one where you have already enough data that you can launch those custom lookalikes audiences with similar preferences and patterns. And so they're called conversion campaigns. And then you can also have a retargeting campaign. And that's like what it is basically. Facebook would allow you to retarget people that have previously engaged with the campaign. And then on YouTube or on display, for YouTube, you can have targeting depending on the topics. So it's either art house films, documentary films, but it's very broad. So you can also cluster down different channels that would be relevant. So for the channels, you can include, let's say, influencers, TV stations, commercials, all the companies that you know that are followed on YouTube within the local market. So I'm sure you have some moderators like TV personnels in Serbia or TV stations that have also their YouTube channel that are being followed by people. So you can also select those channels that you want to target. YouTube also allow you to target by keywords. With the keywords, this is a great option because it's going to target also those people that search for certain keywords on Google. So say if the user is searching for what to watch now or what are the films in cinemas on Google, YouTube can target them for you. You just have to include all of these keywords in the campaign. So the keywords can be similar titles that are well known to your title. Let's say with James Bond, I'm going to be targeting other studio movies. With Parasite, I'm going to include Midsummer. With local studio titles, include some titles that were prominent in the past in the market. So include titles that were in the past that are similar. You can also include keywords that are other movies that are in the competition in the cinemas that week. Say if my film is being played with simultaneously in the same week like James Bond, we know that everyone is going to search for James Bond. So let's include keywords of those competitors' titles, including James Bond. Then we have keywords of really different, similar relevant topics and anything that you think that the audiences that you're after would be searching on Google. You can target them with those videos on YouTube, as long as you can include those keywords. So this is something we actually don't do so much. It's usually we ask the distributors or producers or exhibitors to provide those for us because they know what the audiences are searching within their market. We just give them an example that we want relevant keywords, we want competitors, we want influencers, we want radio, and then the local distributors actually provide this to us. But this is all what YouTube is allowing you to set up, the topics, channels, keywords. And then YouTube also allow to retarget audiences. So you can also run, say, if the audiences interacted heavily with your Facebook campaign, you can also retarget them with Facebook ads. And then on Google, you can also create those custom lookalikes. If someone that watched the video on YouTube completely until the end, clicked through the ad, went to the landing page to search for different venues, you have an option also to retarget those people and create and tell YouTube, find people that have similar watching behavior like these guys that actually landed to the page. And then also last point, we need to increase also the frequency always, both on YouTube and on Google and on Facebook. It's not enough to target only once or twice. Oftentimes it's really about at least hitting that person at least 3 times or 4 times, because it's taking some time for individuals to make their decisions and make up their mind, and also just to build up that relationship. So whenever you run the retargeting, do not run a retargeting of the same video. So say for instance, on Facebook or YouTube, in the beginning of the campaign, we would launch a bunch of clips. And then for the retargeting, we would launch a trailer. The trailer is usually not being launched in the beginning because it's just way too long for your audiences to watch. But if I know that they were people that were highly engaged with the first campaign, and then we're interested in the clips that we presented, then we share with them the long trailer to tell more of the story of the movie for them to get more even engaged with the film. And then here again, testing different creative assets on different channels. You can tell that even though it's basically a cat movie, this cat with the sunset is getting, you know, like a much more high interaction than a cat with the huge eyes. So this is just an example to show, unless you start testing, you won't know. Like we wouldn't know unless we get all the assets and we start testing and then track those results. So I don't think we have so much time, I think, here to create example of ad copies for Midsummer or given examples of the channels. But this is the whole point of like what you should be delivering. If you work with an agency on marketing campaign, you should be able to create those ad copies that are going to be most resonating with those audiences that we created. Say for Midsummer, we had those 6 different segment of audiences. We should have a different message to the audiences that are art house film fans or interested journalists. But we should also have different copies on those audiences that are interested in psychological horrors, right? Or audiences that are interested in feminism. Like each of these audiences will want to have to see different message. So we need to create those messages. And then, as said, the YouTube channels, keywords, all of these is usually provided by the local players because they understand the market the best. For the display, that's the important part, that you should also know where is that your audiences are sitting if you want to have a display campaign. Those are those ads on, say, the variety sites, on, say, booking sites. So if you know that there are a bunch of websites that are interesting within that audience, your audiences are following, then have those sites as a whitelist for the display. This is one of the examples how you can also find out. It's all by different type of research. We basically use a software that is called BrandWatch. BrandWatch basically try to locate like the specific keywords or topics or terms where people are talking online. And then we basically gather all of these mentions to understand where do they sit? Do they sit on this type of website or do they sit on different channel like platform? What are they talking about? How old are they? So it's basically a different type of, like, as if it was Google, but you are a person, you're searching on Google, try to find this information. BrandWatch monitors these conversations happening online and can tell us which are the newspapers that have spoken and featured this type of topic already in the past. So this is the tool that we use in order to understand what are the websites that have already talked about this and where the users are gathering to read about this. Because if I have an idea that, say, these are like 5 websites or 10 websites in my country where most of my audiences gather and talk about the topic, then we should have the display banners ads on their website. And then this is, I think, good for the producers to use. If you're looking into amount of people that could be interested in your film in a different territory that you don't know, then this is a great tool to use. This, for instance, like Le Petit Nicolas, we did a search for the audiences available for this movie. It's a book adaptation. And we found out that it's going to be a French movie based on a French book adaptation. And we found out that there's exactly the same book in Poland, very, very similar. So all the people who are interested in Poland in this like similar book would be interested in this film as well. So how else would you know that there are books similar like this in different countries? So once you've run the research as such, like this one, then you've got an idea of like how many available audiences in Poland would be interested in watching this film as well. So this could be one of the options how to pitch in order to sell the film. But this is what the distributors are using in order to get an idea of like how many audiences are available beside the audience calculator, which we have already used. So again, this is how it looked like actually in our campaign. Like not only that we present the content and that we follow the clicks, we try to build the trust over time and increase the frequency in terms of clicks, increase the frequency in terms of how many times the audience is going to face the ad, and just keep that relationship with the users over time, because then if they need that, if they want to go to see the film, they already, if you have communicated several times with them about the film, they'll go to your movie. If they have already seen several times and were interested in your content, and one evening they sit down and they want to watch a film available online, then they will get that film. So it's more about presenting that relationship and keeping that relationship with the audiences, because it's really did that e-commerce of several times hitting and retargeting these audiences again and again. And when they need it, they will buy. So that's what we think that everyone should be following. And as said, because we have this e-commerce, this is highly recommended, the giveaway things. Watch now your first film for free, get this present book for free, get tickets for free. When you're as distributor or cinema, you're marketing your campaign, you can market it as a competition, give away tickets to the cinema. That would work highly because audiences would get engaged. And then as they get engaged, the word of mouth will be built. So this is not only for cinemas, it's for distributors, it's for producers, for anyone that are trying to make the events, give away things, discount, buy one, get two, or support the brand. It's working these days very well. This is the setup that we've done with the Association of Cinemas in Poland. So in Poland, with the lockdown, all the indie cinemas gathered together to create a platform, an on-demand platform. So the users basically come to the platform, pick the movie, and when they pick the movie, they choose the cinema they want to contribute the money to. Obviously, the platform is not very much well known yet. It's in the very beginning of the stages. So when we convinced the platform, the Association of Cinemas, to give away some movies free to watch, they're like, no one is going to give us movies just for free. So here's just an example of data sharing option we created for them. So whoever is going to watch the movie for free, there's going to be a collection of audiences that watch the films, right? So if the distributor is willing to give that movie up, with the next movie that they will have, the cinema or the platform will offer all of these collected audiences who watch the movies for them to target. So this is the new movie release. With the new movie release, distributors will be able to target those collected audiences from the previous watch movies. The campaign, the generated revenues, obviously comes to different parties here. It comes to the Association of Cinemas, come to distributors. But the point is, even that we'll be giving free movies and watch, we'll be collecting a humongous number of audiences that will come to platform because it's for free. They want to discover this. So we'll build the traffic and new signups for the platform. And then when there are new movies, we can start retargeting those users that have already watched. And the platform is looking nice. So by retargeting with new movies, we'll be only generating new revenues. This is a project that is very, very early at the early stages. We have just launched this, but we are deploying basically the same tactics that we've done with other streaming platforms. So it's all if there's nothing else than to offer back to the distributors that are giving up the movies. They are the audiences that you could be offering. If you can start collecting audiences and you're willing to share the audiences for later on that distributors can retarget, then this could be like a business model. And again, repeating all of what I shared in the presentation, just understand the lifetime value that the audiences are not there just for once, but we should be understanding them as regular buyers. We should be building them and understand that they will bring a value, a lifetime value to your brand. They will come over time, and understanding this, you can minimize the wastage as well. You can exclude those that already bought, but you can use also those data of regular buyers in order to increase the sales of the upcoming titles. And what are the benefits of the collaboration, like for all the parties in the industry? We believe that by increasing the transparency in terms of like what campaign has, like what type of campaign is running, like distributors are running, exhibitors will be able to leverage on this and share back their results in terms of buyers. And that right now, the distributors actually that have the benefits of trying different type of releases, although it's a challenging time. A lot of new things are happening actually. Distributors are approaching with new VOD releases. Cinemas are trying to launch their own demand platform. So if basically the distributors can share some of the insights with exhibitors, and exhibitors can have a setup of trackings and share their analytics with the distributors back as well. Then that would help also the whole industry and to understand what type of movies are being watched. And that the industry can basically grow from the ability of understanding like what is that made the movie successful or not. These are just a few points that we've made here, but the single thread right now is that piracy is very increasing, especially in the Central and Eastern European countries. We know that with the lockdown, cinemas are closed. All the audiences are actually watching television. We also work with TVs, channels. Actually, that's part of the Romania, where we work in Romania, there was mainly the television. So we know that viewership of TVs are increasing, cinemas are closed. Unlike Scandinavia or US, audiences in Central or Eastern Europe are not so tech savvy. So they are not so much prone to new streaming services. So there's a threat of like a highly increasing piracy. So in order to increase that, we are now working obviously with the creative media desk or like the creative media of the European Union in general, to work alongside with distributors and exhibitors at the same time to promote like these new platforms that are emerging on the market, because the younger audiences are going to be easier to convert. So we're communicating with them about these new platforms. We're giving away movies. We're giving away, pay one, get two movies to watch, just to build a kind of habit of watching and supporting the industry. So to diminish and decrease the piracy rate. But by working together, I think that the distributors will both benefit from understanding of the audiences and buyers for their future releases, as well as the exhibitors will get an understanding of what worked well on the campaign. And yeah, that's pretty much everything from what I got to share. So here are mainly now questions to everyone, if you guys have, in terms of what's happening here with the releases. What I would be happy to hear, like, what are you doing right now, since March this year? What type of releases have you done? What's the situation right now in Serbia? So maybe we can compare it with different activities in different markets.
Okay, so now we have some time left for questions, like 10 minutes. If there is any, I know that we are all exhausted after a long day and also overwhelmed maybe, but yeah, still there is some time.
I'm not sure really what should I ask, because I'm a producer director and I have one project. So all this data is irrelevant to me because I don't have a catalog of numbers. So maybe somebody who's more into distribution of films should ask you questions. I'm exception that confirms the rule.
I think that for you here in particular, it would be the most helpful just to take away from the presentation would be thinking about these audiences already when you are, investing into the films, thinking about the segments of audiences, thinking about potential buyers for the movie in order to provide enough and sufficient amount of materials for distributors when you sell the movie, so they can have enough materials to work with in doing the campaign.
Yes, I know that, but there is a problem. If you have a low budget movie, you have to be very cautious how you market your film, because it relies more on word of mouth than all this data. If I put down all this data, I would have more than 1 million, because it's a bromance. It's a romantic comedy about betting. It has great title, Don't Bet on the Brits. It has local actors. If I account for all of that, it's going to be 1 million or something. But my problem is not that. My problem is if first 500 actually says this is bad, I am doomed to fail. It has nothing to do with distributor. It has nothing to do with anybody else. The problem is that it's a unique, independent, it's a diamond in a rough. It's not finished yet. I cannot show it to you. I mean, the only thing I have is I do have only poster for the movie, proposed poster for a movie. But what does it mean? I mean, do you want me to show it to you? So I mean,
what is the plan with the title? Are you planning on the festival circuit, like with any other titles?
I cannot compare it. This is the problem. This is about betting. 3 friends are betting on the same result of an English football soccer game in the middle of Belgrade. So how do I compare? Tell me, please help me. Tell me if there is any film that is close to this.
No, I think we're getting off the path, and right here, the point is that depending on what's the purpose of the movie, what's your goal? Do you want to release this in theaters, or do you want to go with an alternative option of releasing it online? Or what is the plan for the movie?
Well, the movie is both. It is a theatrical 90 minutes movie, but because of the situation, it's going to end up anyway, because of the saturation of content, it's going to end up on some of the platforms. But platforms themselves are flooded with content.
Of course, yeah.
But
that's the whole point, that if there is at least some activities, invested in promoting this one particular title, then you can still find the audiences for the film, even though it gets on online platforms.
No, it's normally you do what they call 360 degrees analysis of your audience. So you basically, it's a very introspective process. So you put on paper all the themes or the emotions present in your film, all the potential audiences, all the segments, and then you try to find the channels towards those audiences. What we saw today is just like a taste of digital campaigns, but it's not only about digital campaigns. You can partner with institutions, with organizations, with school. You can do a lot of offline campaigns as well to reach your audiences, especially if you don't have money, but you have time. And if you think your audience is not online, it's somewhere else. So it's really a hard work, and you need to really your film and how it can connect with different communities.
Yeah,
so,
I understand that like the examples that I've given today are not like super niche, small title budget like films. This is just to showcase what has been done with other titles elsewhere. So you can just take that, some of the maybe learnings, case studies to maybe apply if it fits within the titles that you maybe be working with in the near future.
It's more like a way of thinking, or some kind of a philosophy that, may give you some food for thought to all of you. But it's just a taste of that, So it depends on you what you take out of it and how you want to proceed with all that, if you want, So there are some things you can try on your own. There are some things that can be totally relevant for you and then you just discard them, or there are some things you would like to try but you can't do on your own, and then you need some help or assistance, or you need to, I don't know, consultant or employ someone on the side. So there are different options on how you can proceed with this.
Thank you.
How about the cinemas? Like, what are the cinemas doing at the moment? Are they building some kind of like platforms for themselves too?
No, not really. Well, somebody was from Cinema Couch, I guess. I mean, that's from Croatia, I suppose, but I don't know whether she's...
No, Cinema Couch is, I think Una is, she told me that she had to... Una, are you here? No, she wrote me that she had to leave. Kino Couch is the first Serbian art house platform. But they just launched, I think, 2 weeks ago. And all the films from the Free Zone Film Festivals are already there, in addition to some films that were distributed previously. Mm-hmm. So they are collecting the first results. Una told us, Una, who is representing the platform, she told us yesterday so far it's going well, apparently, but they will have the final results when the festival is finished, which is tonight. So they will know how it goes. And she said that they're also open towards partnerships with other exhibitors and other festivals who would like to show their films through Kino Couch as one platform.
Because
so it could be a partnership.
That really all comes to a collection of audiences. What we do with the Moje I Kino, like the online platform for cinemas in Poland as well. The idea is that we'll be generating all the audiences during our campaign for the online promotion. But at the same time, cinemas, when things settle down, when cinemas reopen as well, they can use all of these audiences that they collect through the platform to retarget them, to inform about new events happening in the cinemas, offline events. So they will have segments of audiences that they know that where their fans or at some point bought the movies from the campaign. They will be able to use these audiences to find and reach new audiences, to model these new lookalikes audiences, but they will be also to be able to retarget these audiences and tell them, we now have a Q&A event with the director or with like these people, and we're doing this type of event. So it's not only for collecting audiences now and maybe getting audiences to watch now at home with these type of like incentives that we are creating, but also to build in a long-term run a pool of audiences that they will be able to retarget with their offline events. Because that's by the end of the day where we should be moving, having some audiences that they can talk to continuously digitally in the long term and for events.
And and I would just, for the very end, I would like to stress that the idea of this year's workshop was just to, as I said, give you a taste of all this. But maybe if we want to continue next year, we can, participants can apply with the project. And then we, either their own project that they produced or the project that they have in the catalog, if it's about exhibitors. And then we can try to use workshop, make it longer and over several months, and try to build campaign together for the selected films or something like that, maybe maybe that would give a more detailed and less theoretical insights. Yeah, more practical side. So so it's a process. Yeah, it's really
like,
and a lot of experimenting.
Yeah, from like really like our talks to like those Polish guys. Obviously, the situation is very depressing right now in Poland as everything got shut down. They are negotiating with distributors about those movies that would be for free to watch. The challenge that the distributors came back was that the movies are already available on some other platforms, right? So they can't give to these guys for free to watch. So they're only very limited a few titles that are for free to watch. But at the same time, we were pushing back, and then we launched a test campaign with the fact that even though it's only a few titles free to watch, this is just an incentive to bring the audiences to the platform. Once they've signed up and they see the good catalog, and if there are movies that really interest them, they'll be willing to pay for that. It's just, we have to have a different motivational like messages that we're communicating with these audiences. So even though they have been facing challenges with distributors pushing back, saying that there are no titles available for free, just like that, we still managed to got a couple of titles for free to watch, and build, and then still, you know, bringing the audiences to the platform through these different incentives.
Okay.
Before you leave, I would just like to ask if you could type in your email in the chat box or put a slide.
I was actually Nevena Negovic from Media Desk Serbia is with us just for the very end to say hi and goodbye. And I actually wanted to ask her if she will distribute our emails to you, because she already have you on the mailing list.
Yes, that would be great.
Yeah. So she can do a follow-up email and include our emails, Philip's, Nguyet's, and mine as well.
Thank you.
Definitely. Yeah. Hi, everybody, and thank you, Nguyet, for today. It was really interesting. I will send an email today or tomorrow, most likely tomorrow. Yeah, to all participants with all the contacts necessary to have. So that's
Super.
it.
I think Una wants to say something, but she muted herself.
Oh, Una?
You have to unmute. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Slobodna.
No, I just wanted to thank you. I thank everybody for participating, especially our lecturers. This was a great event. I hope that everybody is very satisfied with these 2 days. So I hope we see each other next year on some other events similar like this.
Okay.
Thank you guys as well for organizing. And we'll be happy to distribute as well the presentation if you'd like to have a look again.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can forward it to Nevena, and she can include it in the email together with the contacts. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nevena is nodding.
Nevena is nodding. Yeah. That's affirmative. Yeah. Okay, so thank you again from my side as well. And I know it's 2 long days, and it can't be. It's not easy to spend in front of computers so much, but still, the brave ones survived, and I'm happy if you picked up anything useful. So, and hopefully see you next year at a similar event, as Una said. Yeah, we'll stay in touch anyway.
Thank you.
Have a nice
Bye.
evening. Bye-bye.
Bye.